Oh, and you remember the live button. It's all good.
I usually do remember the live button. One of us here has the habit of forgetting it, and it ain't me.
I've only done it twice.
Yeah, how many of these we done? 3? Good evening, fuckers. The Bollocks Brothers have returned once again, but this one is, well, I would say rather different. It's certainly different compared to any of the previous metal music vids we've done, because this does not feature any metal in it whatsoever, or at least I don't think it will. I knew I should have. As I was saying it, I was thinking, I'm going to regret that, aren't I? Okay, there's no actual metal that has, was published or released on an album or anything like that. Then let's put it that way. But it is more in line with the usual sort of content that you would get on my channel and certainly on that one. Because we are going to be covering gaming music. I don't know why I'm doing all this big build-up, because you've clicked on the video, you've already seen what the fucking title is anyway. So, yeah, it's PC gaming music.
You could put a title up on the video that says, I bet you can't guess what music this is, and they'll all think metal, and it won't be.
Well, yeah, that's something to consider, that's for sure. But yeah, it is gaming music. It's not Commodore 64, because, well, we've done 10 Commodore 64 music videos in total. It's not for this channel. The Commodore 64 music will be on channel over there. Well, and also in my collaborations playlist, but that's by the by. Amiga music I thought was a bit too obvious when it came to change, so I thought, right, we'll skip the Amiga completely and we'll go on to PC gaming, which does give us quite a long old time that we can cover in just 10 selections.
Well, it does. I thought we was doing Spectrum music. My list's already finished. You've heard it all.
Fucking Spectrum music, Jesus Christ. That would be painful listening, and then some, wouldn't it? Eh? Fucking hell. So, I will admit, there is one game series and one music composer that absolutely dominates my list. I suspect, even though we've not mentioned this before, this is the first time that Chris has been made aware of this, but I suspect you're going to have a fairly rough idea as to at least what the game series is, if not the composer as well.
Nope. Not a fucking Scooby.
Okay.
My list is from everywhere, because I dabbled in PC gaming at the beginning. Then I got a console. I moved on to the PlayStation, and I didn't actually get a PC until 1999. And then I didn't really start PC gaming until 2010. So I've got, mine is literally from all over the place. There is no pattern to mine at all. It's just it's a jumble. It's like, yep, I like that. Fuck it, we're having it. So
yeah, that works. I don't think either of our lists are in any particular order. I did save my 10th choice. At a push, I would say yes, it is my favourite piece of PC gaming music, but it is pretty close. It could have been any of the 10 that I've chosen, or at least certainly 8 of them. And it can cover any era. The only constraint was it had to appear in a PC game, and it had to be composed for that game. Otherwise, we could have had, for example, one of us chooses, Madhouse by Anthrax because it appears in the Grand Theft Auto 3 soundtrack. No, we're not doing that. So as long as the music was written specifically for the game, and that game is a PC game, could even be like a PC version of a game that also appears on other systems. That's no problem. It's allowed in.
Yeah, well, you totally scuppered my list when you brought that rule in, because I had Ghostbusters, I had 2 Minutes to Midnight from Vice City, I had Madhouse, brilliant. There's loads of stuff I can stick in this. You're like, no, they were written for
I forget which Slayer song was chosen for one of the Grand Theft Auto ones, but I was quite tempted to include that as well, and that's when I came up with that rule. So, they're all out.
Well, that's fair enough.
Okay, well, shall we get straight on then? As always, I will have it where the guests get to kick things off.
Well, okay.
So we start with, your song number one.
Song number one from pretty much the game that turned...
We'll do this like we did the top 40. Don't tell us what the title is.
I'm not going
to. Okay, right. Okay.
No, I'm not going to. All I'm going to say is it's the game that turned the PC into the Borg and killed off everything else. Well, there you go. A little bit metal-y, I suppose.
Vaguely, I suppose, yeah. I haven't got the faintest idea what that was. I'm trying to think of a game. What year was this?
1993.
Fucking hell, okay, that's a lot earlier than I was thinking then. I ain't got a fucking clue.
Okay, well, this game, as far as I'm concerned, put the Death Strangle on the Commodore Amiga, was the reason why the Atari Falcons never came out, and killed off because everyone wanted to play it. Programmed by John Romero. Yep, that is the theme tune at Doom's Gate from Doom. I mean, that's pretty much where modern PC gaming started, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Have you ever actually played there was an Amiga version of Doom, I think it came out a lot later, but there was one that came along. I don't know if you've ever played it or seen it.
I think it was called Gloom, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, if I'd have started playing that in 1993, I think by now, 2022, 4 frames would have flicked past.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice idea. It didn't grab me. In fact, I could say that about Doom in general. It was a good idea, and obviously the game was fucking enormous when it came along. It never interested me. I don't know what it was about it. There was just something not there, and I just was never that fussed.
I preferred Doom 2 because by that time you had mouse controls and you could literally look up and down like you can in games today, whereas the original Doom was like, well, I suppose Wolfenstein come first, and that, or Wolfenstein 3D. But although you could turn and run and strafe and that, you couldn't look up and down. You was always on a single plane. So yeah, they didn't grab me until yeah, Doom 2 and Quake came out. But I played the early ones, and by then I was sick of them. And as you know from playing Elite Dangerous Odyssey, I was really not fussed about doing the first person stuff. So I was like, well, I played all the first person I needed in the 90s. So, all right, I've changed my mind on that now. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So I was fairly late to first person shooters. The first person shooter game that I had or that I played and liked was Unreal. Although I kind of got disinterested with gaming for a bit, so I stopped using my Amiga for a few years ago. Got my PC in '98, or was it '99? One of those two. And I got Unreal based on the recommendation. Started playing that, and that game fucking blew me away. And to this day, it has a moment that I think is one of the greatest things I've seen in gaming. When you first leave the Vortex Riker's ship and you emerge and you see all of the scenery all around you, I was like, fucking yeah, this is serious next gen stuff. And I did kind of get a bit hooked on first person shooters as a result of that. Unfortunately, yeah, I quickly found that a lot of them really weren't all that. But when they were done well, yeah, they were great.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Unreal. I've got a version of that somewhere that works on Windows 7 Plus, so Windows 8, 10, 11. That handles modern screen res. I can dig that out for you if you ever want to play it again. It looks fucking great with all the graphics sharpened up.
Oh yeah, I've got it as well. So yeah, I can still play it. Play it at full resolution, and yeah, it's still a great game.
It is still a great game.
We won't mention the expansion that came along, the Return to Napoli. Yeah. Just stick with the original one.
Yeah, no, I never even played any of the follow-on stuff from that. By the time Unreal had come and gone, I'd moved on to the PlayStation. I suppose it would have been 2, or was it the first one? I can't remember when I got the second one. But and I was playing all the stuff that was coming in because my PlayStation was chipped and I had a CD writer. Say no more.
Yeah. But as far as the music goes, it was okay. I wouldn't say it was hugely memorable, but I've heard far worse. Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was choosing my list, because my PC gaming history is not a lot. I was thinking, right, well, I need to make this up to 10. And I thought, well, I'll have that for the nostalgia factor because I did play it when it came out. I didn't have a PC then, but a mate of mine did. And I used to play it round his. So, say no more, really.
Yeah, I suspect nostalgia is going to play more than a passing role in this entire list. So, yeah, I can certainly understand it being chosen for that reason.
Yeah. There you go. Doom.
Yeah, not bad. All right, so we go on to my choice number one. I can't remember when this game came out. I think it was about 99, maybe 2000. It's a game that does have quite a strong following, and the music just fucking blows me away. Let's hear it. There we are.
Well, it sounded familiar, but I couldn't place that at all unless it was something like Day of the Tentacle or something like that.
Not quite, no. So that was the Fortress Town theme from the Heroes of Might and Magic 3 game. And that music was written or composed by Paul Romero, who I think is... I don't think I'm overstating it too much if I was to say I think he's one of the greatest composers of the 21st century. I just think his stuff is absolutely fucking phenomenal. But of course, because he's composing music that's used in games, loads of people have never heard of him. Loads of people will instantly dismiss what he's composed because of the media that it's used in. You know, it's all totally unfair. He deserves far more.
In relation to John Romero?
No, he's no relation to John Romero or George Romero either. So yeah.
Caesar?
No, I think we can leave out all the Romeros. He's not related to any of them.
That was good though. I mean, regardless of something you said in a completely different video recently, I do like classical music. Within reason, I don't like classical music that's everyone says, oh, you've got to listen to this. This is music. If someone like goes on at me and says, oh, you've got to listen to Grieg, you've got to listen, it's like, no, I'll listen to what I like. And I do find that I prefer modern classics to what would be considered the great masters and stuff like that. So, you know, one of my favourite classical CDs is the soundtrack CD to Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
Yeah, that's a prime example. There's no getting away from it. There is an unbearable amount of snobbishness when it comes to orchestral music. And a lot of like really great classical music you're going to hear from film soundtracks. There's absolutely no getting away from it. And I consider like film soundtracks and game soundtracks like this every bit as viable and as important to the whole orchestral music genre as I do, you know, the works of Mozart and Beethoven and all that. And this one, what makes this one particularly stand out for me, I might sound a bit fucking snobby a bit here now, but it's the fact that it uses a woodwind lead. When I first heard it, I thought it was cor anglais, but it's actually reaching some notes that Coron Glade can't get to, so it must be oboe. But I really do like it when they have an oboe lead instrument. And I've heard several like reworkings of this particular theme, and they always take the woodwind lead out, and I think that ruins it, because that is what makes it so good for me. So I don't like any of the rework versions. I just want this original one.
Yeah, I mean, your knowledge of this type of music is far greater than mine. I mean, you're going on about oboes and stuff. And, you know, to me, it sounds like some cunt with a recorder. You know what I mean?
Fucking hell. Yeah, Paul, if you are watching this, yeah, those were his words. Yeah, I apologise now. Yeah, some cunt with a recorder. Yeah, okay.
It's made you laugh. I've told you countless times. If I can make one person laugh a day, I'm winning. No, that was class. You know, jokes aside about recorders, that was fucking class. That really was good piece of music.
Ever played the game?
No, I had Heroes of Might and Magic on the PlayStation 2, which was shit, and I think I had Warriors of Might and Magic 6 on the PC, but not the third one.
Heroes 3 is widely regarded as the best of the Heroes of Might and Magic series. I'll be talking more about that a little bit later on, but I do think it is a great game. It's the kind of like strategy game that I really do love playing. So yeah, it's one of the reasons why I got to know the music in the game so well, because I used to play this fucking almost relentlessly. So
yeah, not bad at all.
Right, on to your number 2.
I know. We need a breath of fresh air now. I can't believe you've thrown classical music and fantasy role-playing games at me from the off.
All right, okay, I know what's coming then, but yeah, let's hear it.
you was expecting?
Well, it's certainly the style I was expecting. I have definitely heard that before, and I have spent this entire time trying to remember where I've heard it, and it's not coming to me.
All right. Well, the game come out in 2012.
Is it something like is it one of the Elder Scrolls games?
No.
Okay.
That is the main theme to the Legend of Grimrock.
Fucking hell, and I've got that game as well, yeah.
Oh, it's Spinal Tap all over again.
Yeah. Well, it's no wonder I recognised it, but yeah, I didn't think it was. I certainly didn't think it was Grimrock. It's been a little while since I last played it, but it deserves better than that. It's a fucking great game. I mean, it's Dungeon Master for the PC, and praise doesn't get much higher than that, you know.
No, it doesn't. And there is a mod that my mate Sasamisa has played that is someone's remade Dungeon Master. It's not exact, but he said it's good, and you know what he's like with Dungeon Master.
I've got the mod, and yeah, it is good. They did a great job on that. The music I thought was great. It suits the game, I think, perfectly. You don't really want a theme for a game like that to be like really uplifting or anything, and it's not. That's not to say that it's fucking miserable and depressing and you're not going to want to hear it, not at all. But it's been very much written to suit the game that it's being used in.
Yeah, well, I mean the lead, I suppose, for want of a better word, chorus part of it, like the main theme of it, has got like a kind of like a dark heroic sort of sound to it. It's like, they're heroes, but it's going to be shit for them.
Yeah. Which is certainly a good description of what happens in the game. So I'm trying to, isn't it? It's the 4 characters that you control. You're like criminals or something, isn't it? And you've been thrown in this dungeon, and they expect you to just rot away. But there is actually a way out of it, or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. It starts off with graphics like showing you being cast into a pit, and you fall down, and then, you wake up in a room and work out the puzzles and work your way out. And it was the return of the dungeon crawler, but rather than being like for anyone that hasn't played it, rather than being like graphics that flick forward, you still go forward in your squares, like it's very square laid out, but it scrolls the squares across rather than flick them like DM did. So it was a spiritual success. They made a follow-up, Grimrock 2, which if I've got it, I've not really played it that much, but if you listen to Jeff, it's far too easy, and it wasn't as good, although graphically they'd souped it up, and the music was a very similar theme to that. You could tell it was within the same series. But and there was never a third one. And I did have a look the other day when I was doing this list. I wondered if they ever got round to doing a third one, and they went on to do other things. But I don't think them sort of games sold enough, which is a shame.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't get the second one. It's one that's actually been on my Steam wish list for years, but I've still not got round to buying it. I probably will, because even if it, I didn't expect it to be as good as the first one, but the fact that it is one of, it's another Dungeon Master style game. That's all the reason I need. So I certainly will get it at some point. I just haven't yet.
Yeah. Also, bear in mind, it was Jeff that said it's too easy, not me.
Yes. Yeah, I did make note of that as soon as you said it. This is the man who thought Vulcan Venture was too easy. I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. I got nothing but praise for that one.
Nice.
So we go on to my number 2. It's pretty much following a theme. Let's hear it. There we go.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was, I don't know, Heroes of Might and Magic 8, Who Shot JR or something.
Shockingly, you're not a million miles away insofar as, yeah, it is from a Heroes of Might Magic game. It's from 3 again composed by Paul Romero. That is the theme from the Stronghold town. And it is not coincidence that 2 of my favourite pieces of music from that game again feature the woodwind lead instrument. It doesn't happen often enough, and I do think it sounds really good. So that's why, of all like the various town themes, those 2 in particular are the ones that I just think are fucking great. There isn't any bad music in the entire Heroes 3 soundtrack. I don't think hearing me say that is going to come as any big surprise, but yeah, there are some pieces that really absolutely stand out above the rest, and my first 2 choices there are definitely them. With this one, it's that sort of big crescendo start that you've got there, that's what I really like about this one. And then you get the woodwind lead as well. It's got it all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm I'm hearing it totally out of context, so I was just assuming it was another of the same series, and I was just listening to it for music, and yeah, it's a really nice piece of classical music to me because I've never played the game, so.
Well, you said you played the first Heroes of Might and Magic on the PlayStation, and you thought it was shit. What was it about it that you didn't like?
The fact that they made it a third-person viewed brawling game. It wasn't a proper RPG thing. They basically took the title and made a shit game out of it.
Oh, okay, right, yeah, that was a different series. The the actual Might and Magic series, that's, I think, is the one that you're talking about there. The Heroes of Might and Magic one is always the turn-based strategy one.
Yeah. So... I can see the case over there with my PS2 games. It's Warriors of Might and Magic. So
so that was like a sort of side game, from the series. It wasn't actually part of the Heroes set. So. Yeah, I can see why. Yeah, you wouldn't rate that one too much. They did a few of those. Came out for the PC as well. None of them did really well. None of them grabbed my interest enough to even look at them, let alone buy the things. So, yeah, I just stuck with the Hero series.
Yeah, I did have one for the PC. I had it on CD, and I can't remember. I thought it was Heroes of Might and Magic 6. I know it wasn't like what we'd call up-to-date graphics. It was very much in the vein of what you'd expect on an Amiga or an early PC, so it might have been even earlier than 6.
Yeah, it would have been earlier than 6 then, yeah. Could have been any of the first 3. So, I mean, I've got all of them, and a few of mine have come from GOG, so if you want to try them out, I might be able to help you out there. So, but yes, there we go. My second choice, the second piece of music from Heroes 3, the second piece that was composed by Paul Romero. Get used to it.
Fair enough. I can tell you now that I could have done what you've done, but I haven't. I've not got 2 songs from the same person, let alone the same game series.
Right, well, with that in mind, I can actually reveal that is the last of the Heroes 3 music that I've chosen. Okay. Yeah, but with that in mind then, let's go on to your number 3.
I'd be very surprised if you know this tune. It was in a video that I put out this year, but I'm not convinced you would have watched that one because it's not your sort of game. But there's something about this piece of music I really like, so it's on my list. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be your sort of thing, but it's my list, isn't it? So
Yeah. Sounded a bit generic to me. I'll tell you what it did remind me of. It reminded me of relatively early Amiga music when a lot of the like fairly well established Commodore 64 musicians had made the change from the SID to the Paula chip, and for whatever reason, so few of them actually did a decent job of it. A lot of them just, I don't know why, but they just couldn't seem to get on with the Paula chip so much. That did to me sound quite a bit like that could have been an Amiga.
no, it wasn't. It might sound different when you hear it not through StreamYard. That was from 2011, and that was the tune Yokai Back Shrine Road from the Tohu 13 10 Desires, the Tohu project, the Japanese bullet hell curtain shooters. See, the thing is, with them games, because it's a shoot 'em up, the music is quite repetitive. I mean, I think that looped twice, but that came straight from the soundtrack CD. And the guy that makes the game, I don't know his real name, but he goes by the name of Zun. He programs the game, programs all the bullet patterns, draws the graphics, composes all the music. Now, each of the I think they're up to about 17 or 18 now, but each of the games has like a 45-minute soundtrack, and he does everything himself, all the music, and it covers a wide variety of genres. But I think the reason I like that tune is that's for the extra stage, or one of the extra stage tunes on that game. And I've for hours watched Jeff trying to fucking complete that on my arcade machine, because I've got them all in vertical mode on there, so they fill up the screen. So that song, I've heard it so many times, and I really like it. And it took him a long time to finally manage to do that boss. It's mental. You're talking like fucking hundreds of bullets on the screen.
Yeah.
So I got to listen to that a lot, and it's just one that I like. Hence, it's in the list.
Yeah, you're certainly right about the game not being my sort of thing. I fucking detest those like bullet hell Japanese games and that. I see them, running, and I watch people playing, and you've got so many bullets there on screen. There is basically one single path of about 3 pixels across that you got to get through, and I'm just like, look, at some point surely someone's got to say this is not enjoyable, this is frustration incarnate. I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that sort of game. I do like me shoot 'em ups, but for fuck's sake, rein it in a bit.
For the most part, I'm with you on that. I find the Tohu Project games impossible. Like easy on the Tohu game. Imagine fucking Vulcan Venture on the hardest possible setting. That's easier still than the easy mode on a Tohu Project game. But Jeff seems to enjoy it, and the Tohu Project has got one of the biggest fan followings in the world, with toys being made, cartoons being made, none of them official. I think it has its own kind of Comic-Con thing called Comic Air. It is proper fucking popular all over Europe, especially in Japan. But I suppose the same could be said for anything. If you're into it, you're into it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not.
No, I'm not that much. I've got a few of the models that Jeff's given me where he's bought them from Japan and got doubles and that. They're nice things, but I'm not into it in a great way. But I do like the music, and I picked that one because I like it. But I could have picked. I mean, every game's got different types of tunes. I mean, there are tunes that have got guitar music in and that as well. He's a good musician compared to everything else he fucking does for them games. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, let's face it, neither of us are strangers to the whole concept of, having games that we don't like, but the music is great. We've been doing that for a long old while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found it a bit generic sounding. That could well be the first and last time I ever hear it because knowing what game it's from, I'm not going to be going anywhere near that.
Well, you'll get to hear it again when you're editing it, won't you?
Oh joy! I already can't wait.
Well, you say that, but I mean, Rush had a different impact on you while editing. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in this instance I've got a pretty good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so have I, actually. Well, moving swiftly along.
Yeah. I think it's very much time to move on. So we'll go on to my number 3. So I did already say this is not going to be from Heroes of Might and Magic 3. So you're going to hear something a little bit different. This, when I first heard this, I'm pretty sure it was 2002. And this fucking blew me away because I had never heard anything like this in any video game.
Okay.
Let's hear it. There you go. Opera in a video game.
I think I'd have preferred the instrumental version.
Oh, fucking hell. I could not believe my ears when I first heard that. I bought Heroes of Might and Magic 4, which is what this is from. I bought it on the day of release. as far as the game goes, it's absolutely abysmal. It's by far the worst of the Heroes of Might and Magic series. But musically, I was not ready for what I was, about to be confronted with. I had never heard opera in a video game before, and I never expected to ever hear it in a video game. And yet, I was hearing it in this.
Right now, I'm not going to stand here and diss opera because these people are fucking good at what they do. Now, I'm like the opposite of you with metal. I think the female voice suits opera perfectly well. I find the men that sing opera, I just find it a bit pretentious and weird. It just doesn't sound right to me. That with classical music, that high pitched singing that the women do is absolutely breathtaking. But the men singing, I just think, oh, fuck's sake, shut up. You sound like a proper tool.
Fucking hell. Oh. Is it like a fucking knife through my heart hearing this?
That piece of music was absolutely brilliant. If you could have removed the male vocals out of it, that would have been, for me personally, that would have been so much better. I'm not keen on male opera singers. I don't want to upset anybody, but I thought Pavarotti was fucking rubbish.
Oh, fuck it. I mean, well, Pavarotti was a tenor, and I much prefer the lower end of the male voice. The male voice in this was bass baritone, which is my favourite of the vocal ranges. The female voice in this is mezzo soprano, so it could actually go up higher than this. But I prefer mezzo soprano. I think soprano is a bit too high, a bit too piercing. So I'm the total opposite of you. I much prefer the male voice in opera than the female. And one of the reasons why I particularly like Wagnerian opera is that so many of the male roles in that are either bass baritone or baritone. That you don't get a hell of a lot of tenors in Wagner's operas. So yeah, it does rather show what a contrast in our particular likes and dislikes there. But
I'll tell you a bit I did like. There was a bit where it sounded like what was possibly a children's choir singing background vocals. It really reminded me of the song the elves sing for Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings cartoon, the Ralph Bakshi cartoon from 1978, where they sing the Mithrandir song. It really reminded me of the elf song from that kid's. It must have been a kid's choir. It sounded like a child's choir singing. I mean, I could be wrong.
It does really sound like a child's choir, but I don't think it is. I think it is a female choir. They're all from, I know it's a Bulgarian. It's like the Bulgarian National Orchestra or something. Anyway, that was actually recorded all of the Heroes 4 music. Again, it was all composed by Paul Romero, no surprise there. Actually, with Heroes 4, it was a joint venture. It was Paul Romero and Rob King also did some of this. But yeah, I always thought for years that's got to be like a child's like choir there. And it appears in some of the other music in the same game. But I think actually it does turn out it's just a female voice choir. But they must have all been pretty fucking young, you know.
Yeah, 6 by the sound of it. But yeah, I think that works well. But yeah, there's just I don't know what it is, Chris. I just find something cringy about male opera. And that I've often said to you, there's something about choir that I can't get my head around. And I think I've finally put my finger on it tonight. Listening to it, there's like, yeah, that's what it is. If you'd have removed that out of it, for me, that would have been so much better. But as it stands, it's still a fucking good piece of music. I'm not gonna knock the composition out of it. I know these guys are talented. It's just, you know, It's just not my sort of thing.
No. I mean, I knew that was going to be the case. I know you are not an opera fan of any real, well, at all, really. Let's be honest.
If it makes you feel better, I prefer that to Jedward. All right.
Well, I mean, yeah, that makes all the difference. That, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good piece of music, though. It was a good piece of music. I did like that Oriental sounding, sort of twang it out at the beginning and end as well. I thought that was good.
Yeah, I have no idea what instrument they used to get that sound. To me, it always, maybe not so much in this piece, but in some of the other pieces later on, it sounds a bit sort of like Irish folk music sort of sound to me. Obviously, yeah, you're not going to hear that from that particular one, but yeah, in other parts of the game, it really does. So just for the record, that was the theme to the Nature faction from Heroes of Might and Magic 4. The music was fantastic, the game was terrible.
Yeah, I've never played it, so I'd have to take your word for it, mate.
Right, we move on to your number 4.
Oh, you're going to fucking moan about this one. But this is completely your fault because I'd totally forgotten about it. And I thought, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Seeing as you mentioned it, I thought I'd put it in. Enjoy. Well, you know where that's from.
Yeah. Um, this is something you have the unerring ability to do every single time. Whenever I make a statement, you always you always find either the flaw or the exception to it without fail. The first two pieces that I played, my first two choices, I'm saying I really like it when we have a woodwind lead. Along you come with a saxophone lead. Oh, fucking no.
That's your fault. Look, I was looking. I was saying to you, and we was talking about this, and I said to you, like, musically, I've not really got that much on the PC. And you said, oh, it can be from this, it can be from that. Of course, there's games like Outrun. I thought, oh yeah, I've got Coast to Coast. I managed to get hold of it before Sega lost the Ferrari license, because you can't buy it anymore. And I managed to get a copy of it that's been souped up to work with Windows 10 and higher resolutions and that. And I thought, well, it's got the arcade original soundtrack in there, and I thought I could just record that because I know it's in the game. And you said if it's in the game, but fuck me if I looked at the game files and all the music ain't in there as separate tracks. Oh, excellent! I'll use the one that was remastered for the game. So you're welcome.
Yeah, great. I mean, right, there are three main pieces of music in Outrun. So you got Splash Wave, you got the one that I can never remember the title to, and then you have Magical Sound Shower. Two of them I do really like. Guess which one is the one I don't?
Oh, the best one, Magical Sound Shower.
Fucking, it's not the best one.
Well, that's subjective, isn't it? It's what I think is the best one in the game. I think the other one is Passing Breeze, the other one you're trying to think of.
Oh, is it? And that's the one that I think when you played the coin-op original was the default one. It's already got selected, so most people who were just hammering away on the start button always played that, and that's my favourite piece from the game. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that one, in case you hadn't noticed.
Well, I mean, I know already from watching your videos and talking to you before that you're not over keen on Outrun anyway, even though it's still the greatest arcade racer. And you're even less keen on Magical Sound Shower. Well, I really like the game Outrun. It just fucking takes me straight back to the 80s and the way it was back then. And I've always liked Magical Sound Shower. I remember when there was a tape that came with a game for when I think I got it. I think I got it for the Commodore 64.
Yeah, I got the same one.
There was a tape that came with it, and I used to listen to that more often than not because I really do like the music. I can't for the life of me remember the Japanese guy that composed it, but he done a lot of their music, and he was fucking good. And that is whether you like it or not, that is a popular track.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it being popular doesn't always necessarily, well, it certainly doesn't guarantee that it's going to be good, but I would have preferred it if it had been closer to the coin-op original. I'm not a big fan of the saxophone as a lead instrument. Yeah, there's me. Yeah, I really like it when woodwind is the lead instrument. Oh, let's have a saxophone. Oh, for fuck's sake. No, I'm not so keen on the saxophone as a lead. And this one, for me, kind of illustrated why. Because when it's just a single saxophone on its own, it just sounds a bit sort of like whiny. It doesn't sound particularly good. Yeah, so that wasn't great. And I think later on, was it using like sampled steel drum sounds as well?
I don't know if it was sampled or if it was recorded that way. I mean, this was 2006,
that's true,
2006, so I mean, the chances are that it was actually a steel drum section in the band playing it. I don't know.
Yeah, could well have been. For the benefit of those watching, while we are playing these back, we can barely hear these. I I am having to crank up the volume something fierce just to be able to like hear them. So there's a good chance that at least one of us will actually think more, highly of the music once it's been edited and we actually hear it as it should. But yeah, to me it did sound like it was sampled steel drum rather than an actual steel drum. But yeah, when I have the pleasure of hearing this again while editing it, I'll obviously have a better idea.
To be fair, that is quite a quiet recording as well. I mean, I can hear them properly because I'm playing them locally, but that was a lot quiet when I was playing it back. I was thinking, fuck, maybe I should have turned the volume up on this before I played it. But
yeah, but looking at the player there, I don't think you can turn the volume up any higher than it already is.
No, I mean, I could have put it into an audio editor and amplified it.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, well. So yeah, that's not a winner for me, that one. Yeah, of all the pieces of music that you could have chosen, yeah, I wish you'd chosen one of the others, but even then, going by that, I probably wouldn't have been like, a huge fan of the re-recorded versions of either of the other two either. I'm assuming the other two are on it.
Yeah, they are, as far as I know. I mean, as far as the game itself goes, I might as well mention the game since we're talking about the music. It's actually a pretty good racing game. It's very much Outrun, you got your two choices at the end, but obviously it's a bit faster and a bit prettier than the original Outrun from '86. And you've got a choice of different cars and what have you. I like it. I had it on the PlayStation 3 and I got it for the PC once. I had a PC with some grunt and yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Outrun game. Hey, what were you actually trying to outrun? The timer, as far as I could tell. So it was always just a race against the clock, nothing else. And all right, the novelty, if you like, of the split roads. It gave it something different, which no other racer had at the time. Until you played the Commodore 64 conversion of it. That's what killed the Commodore 64 conversion for me. I mean, without the split in the road, it is nothing. For me, you may as well play pole position. So, yeah, the game was, for me, it was all polish and no substance whatsoever. That's how it came across to me. It always did.
Yeah, it is a pretty shallow game. I mean, you're a Ponzi yuppie driving about in a Ferrari Testarossa, which, let's be honest, weren't the best cars that Ferrari made. It looked nice, but that was it.
Yeah, I'd say it was one of the worst cars that Ferrari came out with, and they've come up with some real stinkers in their time. So, yes. Yeah, it doesn't have an awful lot going for it, where I'm concerned, but there you go. Certainly a fine illustration that this is your choice and not mine.
Yeah. Well, you know me. I don't put things in to please you, mate.
Yeah, I certainly fucking know that, all right.
Still, it's a good way to fight back at the opera.
So yeah. Now the truth's coming out. Yeah, we know why this was chosen. Yeah.
Well, I haven't listened to any of your songs until today, so that was just a good coincidence, I think.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, how about we move on to my song choice number 4 then? After the first 3 of mine, I think you've got a pretty good idea as to how this one is going to sound.
I'm suspecting possibly some Paul Romero.
Okay, well, off we go.
I know that from somewhere, but I'm trying to think now which bloody game series it could be from.
Well, I'll give you a clue. It's not Paul Romero.
No shit, Sherlock. that was Virgin on Metal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You'd see, there were so many different things I was thinking of while that was playing. You know, there's games that like Carmageddon and Deus Ex and stuff like that have got different sorts of soundtracks to them. But I do know that piece, but fuck if I can remember where from.
Well, it is a first-person shooter game. I think this came out in 2004, possibly 2005. That is from Half-Life 2, Episode 2. The title to the music is called Unpartable 1, and it's by some bloke called Viper. No, neither have I. But yeah, quite a contrast to my previous choices. But you know, a game soundtrack does not have to be orchestral or operatic for me to like it. And yeah, prime example right there. I fucking love that piece of music.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's definitely a good piece of music. I don't really think I played Half-Life 2 that much. I played quite a bit of the first one. But I was kind of getting a bit sick of first-person shooters by that point. So, but I've definitely heard that music before. I did have Half-Life 2. I just didn't really play it much.
Well, that one is from, it's from Episode 2, the second and final, even though it wasn't supposed to be, like add-on expansion thing to Half-Life 2. That's during the part when Alex has been killed yet again, and she's being revived by the Vortigaunts, and you've got all of the Combine forces all coming in trying to stop it, and there's a moment where you're like absolutely overwhelmed. There's far too many of them coming in. But then a load more Vortigaunts arrive, and they're all just like standing there, constantly blasting away at them. And yeah, you got this piece of music playing in the background. So yeah, it really does fit in well.
It's definitely a good bit of music for encouraging violence.
Oh yeah, it certainly does that. Yeah.
Yeah, people still go on about Half-Life 3, don't they? I see it occasionally. Like Valve will say they've got an announcement to make, and there's always a load of people saying, "Oh, Half-Life 3."
Yeah.
Give it up.
Yeah. Let's face it. Yes, Valve did really shaft us with the whole episodal content. I'm glad it never caught on. I hated the idea from the word go. I particularly hated the way they marketed the first episode one, because the only way you could get it was by buying the orange box, which also meant buying another copy of Half-Life 2, which anybody who wanted episode 1 already had the fucking original. Why box it like that? So yeah, that was really annoying. But yeah, we all know Half-Life 2 Episode 3 and Half-Life 3 are never coming. So, you know, even though there are some people out there that still hang on to it, just fucking give it up. It's not coming. The end.
Well, you know, unless something happens to good old Randy and someone decides, right, I'm going to do this. So, but as it stands, no, it ain't coming.
Well, I will still add that, yeah, Gabe Newell is still a fat cunt and he can fuck off. It's his fault that it happened, so, you know.
Yeah, and he speaks so highly of you.
Yeah, does he? Yeah. The feeling is not reciprocated, I'll tell you that. So there we go. Right, yes, that was my choice number 4. Quite a departure from my first 3, but I couldn't keep it completely predictable all the way through. So I thought, no, I got to break this up a little bit. So that's where it starts.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, it was a good piece.
Yeah, I do like that one. Quite simple sort of guitar it's more like a guitar lead, isn't it? It doesn't sound like a riff. I don't think they're playing chords. I think it's just individual strings all the time. But it works, and that's what matters, you know.
Yeah. Not going to have any metal, he says.
Well, I'd call this borderline metal. When I think metal, I don't think something like this, you know. This, to me, sounds more like the sort of... when Gary Newman was starting to do, like, you know, his stuff with, was it 9 Inch Nails and that, that sort of, this reminds me of that sort of thing rather than out and out metal, you know what I mean? It's almost a sort of industrial sound to it.
Yeah. Not that that's a bad thing.
I was just going to say, yeah, that by no means a bad thing, but it just means that I don't really think of it as a metal track.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to my number 5 then.
Yep.
Well, we'll stick with first-person shooters, and this is the theme tune to what I consider to be the best one.
Well, I'm trying to think of what you would consider to be the best first-person shooter. I've not heard that music, so it's a game I haven't played. I'm going to guess Duke Nukem.
3D, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Fantastic first-person shooter. It's got humour. It's politically incorrect. All the stuff that I like, and also it's got some quality blasting as well. Now, I'm not normally one for updated graphics. I mean, there's been very few games. The remake of the Cinemaware games, Wings from the Amiga, that was a good remake. And this has never had a remake. The game that everyone was waiting fucking years for, Duke Nukem Forever, was shit.
Duke Nukem Forever, yeah.
Yeah, that was shit, basically. I've got something called Ed 2 Duke, and it's basically an engine which replaces a lot of the textures with up-to-date stuff, and it's got a polymer engine on it, so it looks more up-to-date. And they've done such a good job because it's changed absolutely nothing. You know, all of John St. John's classic voiceovers on there. And yeah, this was pretty much for me. When this came out in 1996, it was like, well, I've seen what I really need to see now of first-person shooters. I did, you know, I dabbled here and there with Half-Life and stuff like that, but really, this is where first person shooters ended for me, because there was so many. It was it was like death metal. You know what I mean? There was just so many of them. Every other game was a fucking first person shooter game, and I'd had enough. And that's why I ended up moving to the console, because they were still making platform games, albeit 3D ones, and racing games and the sort of stuff I like playing. Whereas, the PC was that's all it was first person shooters, because that's what most people wanted.
Yeah, I remember that all too well. If you wanted to play a PC game that wasn't a first-person shooter, you were pretty much out of fucking luck. You know, you had to go through your back catalogue and play your old games, because everything that was new was fucking FPS. That really did get on my fucking tits. I never played this one, because I'm sure I'm wrong, but I always got the impression that this was just mindless shoot everything that moves, and that was the sole objective. So it'd be a bit like Quake Arena and Unreal Tournament and that sort of thing, which I wasn't keen on. When first person shooters are done well, they are. I do think they're enjoyable, and I still think they are today, but I am very fussy about them. And the first thing that I always want is that there has to be a main objective. So that's why I liked Unreal. That's why I liked Half-Life and Half-Life 2. Because it was, you had the narrative, you had the storyline. You weren't just shooting people just because they happened to appear there.
Well, this isn't as in depth as Half-Life or Unreal by any stretch of the imagination. But the idea was to get through the level, find the secrets. Like level 1, for example, you start off on a rooftop. You have to blow up some barrels, jump down like a fire escape, and then you've got the aliens that are shooting at you. You have to get into the cinema. There's a couple of secrets to find outside. Then you have to get in the cinema, collect some ammo and some armor, kill all the aliens that are in there. There's another couple of secrets in there. Then you need to find the pass to open the door, and then blow it up. Basically, there's like a button to press, and then you move on to the next level. And that is pretty much what it is: find the secret, shoot stuff, and find your way out. It's like a maze game, I suppose, to a T. But it's not just mindless shooting. Yeah, you do tend to shoot everything, but there is more than just that to it.
Okay, so it sounds like it could have been better than I thought. As I said earlier, there are always exceptions to everything I state. And when did that game come out?
96.
Okay, it's a lot earlier. For some reason, I was thinking 2004. And around that time, I bought two FPS games. I bought Far Cry and I bought Unreal Tournament 2004. Now, based on what I was just saying, a couple of minutes ago, you'd have thought, okay, I know which one he's going to like, which one he doesn't. In fact, Unreal Tournament 2004 I thought was fucking great, and Far Cry I thought was fucking coma-inducing. It was utter shit. So I've never bothered with any of the Far Cry games. I think they're up to, is it 6? There's at least 5 of them. I think they may be up to a 6th one now. But yeah, they interest me about as much as, fucking what are those World War II Modern Warfare ones.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, all that sort of shit. Yeah, interests me about as much as that. I.e., not even remotely. No,
I gave up on them a long while ago. The last one I played was the one that was set in the Second World War, World at War. I didn't mind. I know we're going slightly off here, but I didn't mind them games when you had to aim down iron sights and stuff like that. That's when you needed a bit of skill to play the game. Modern Warfare on there is just all scopes and auto aim and shit like that. Well, the older Call of Duty games weren't too bad. The new stuff's just fucking dross. Games for children, basically, because that's all that fucking plays it. People that don't give a shit about their kids' mental health. It's like, yeah, you can play this 18-rated game and kill people. Little Jimmy, who's 8 years old.
Yeah, and then they moan like fuck because someone says cunt in it or something, Yeah. Fucking got your priorities sorted out there. It's all right to have say, yeah, blow someone's head off. That's fucking great. Hang on a minute, that bloke there just said, "Fuck right, he's scum. Get this game banned immediately." Oh, fucking what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the rant section. Well, for the moment, anyway, done.
Yeah, no, Duke Nukem's all right. I mean, the voiceover that's done by John St. John. I mean, I know someone that knows him, and he still does, like, I mean, he'd probably do it for nothing. You know, he does like answer phone messages for people in the voice of Duke Nukem and stuff like that. And he seems to be a stand-up sort of bloke. But yeah, it's some of the stuff he comes out with in that is fucking brilliant.
I remember you saying about him recording like voicemail messages and that for people. I remember Peter Tuddenham used to do the same thing. You would have your choice of either Zen, Orac, or Slave, and he would do it. And I was like, yeah, that was all right.
Yeah, it's good.
Had to bring in a bit of sci-fi there somehow.
Oh yeah, because we haven't mentioned Half-Life or anything like that.
No, it's been a complete sci-fi free zone, this place. So you know.
Fucking started with Doom, for fuck's sake.
Well, there we go. So, that was Duke Nukem. I did have a sneaking feeling, actually, that Duke Nukem was going to be appearing on your list somewhere. So, not the biggest surprise. But, actually, as far as the music goes, because I don't think we even mentioned the music to that one. It was okay. It was a little bit generic. It sounded like it was a loop. I think it looped like 2, maybe 3 times.
It might have done. I just grabbed the file. So
yeah, I mean, it was okay. It's not gonna stick in my head. I've already forgotten what it sounded like, you know. So yeah, but it was like an OGG file in with a game thing, and he had 2 Duke files, and that song was labelled Grab Bag, and I had no idea. And I was going through the files looking for all the things. I thought, right, well, there's a lot here. I'm gonna have to go through them one by one to find him, all the ones that had a certain length on them. And I got to G, and Grab Bag, apparently that one's called. Fuck knows why. No, not a clue. I had to do exactly the same thing when I was going through me Heroes 3 stuff earlier on, because, well, they're not saved as OGG files there. I wish they were. OGG is a really good quality codec, I thought. These were all just MP3s, so I just had to keep going through them until I actually found the right one. Okay, right, there we go, bung that one in. So, yeah, I know what the search is like.
Yeah.
Anyway, this brings me on to my number 5. Maybe things are a little less predictable now after me number 4. Well, let's hear it.
Was that Paul Romero?
That was amazingly, yes. At least I think it is. Now I think about it, that might have been Rob King, but again, it was the two of them working together. So that was from the game Heroes of Might and Magic 6. That particular piece of music is called Blood and Tears, and it's basically the main theme on the main title page.
Because that really sounded like a potential game over music, because it was really not an uplifting sort of piece at the end there.
No, it's an interesting choice for the main theme, because it starts off very much like one. Then it builds up, and then like you get that part where the strings just completely take over and have that main sort of like anthem part there, which I think sounds fucking fantastic, and that is the reason why I wanted this piece included. But yeah, it does paint a rather sort of like bleak sort of atmosphere, you know, and I mean, in a way, it does suit the game, because when you're starting in Hero 6, and it's the whole the war that the Archangels have started against the Faceless. If you've played the game, that would make a lot more sense than if you haven't. But yeah, in the Hero series, angels are never the sort of like, you know, all good, all angelic type that, you know, the Bible would have you believe. Yeah, they're right scheming cunts, actually. And in this one in particular. So yeah, this entire war is started just because one archangel is pissed off with the Faceless, and the whole world gets embroiled in it. So yeah, it does work if you're familiar with the game, but if you're listening to it just standalone as we are now, you're quite right in thinking this doesn't sound like your typical sort of, you know, main menu theme.
No, I mean, when it started off with like the harps at the beginning and that, I mean, it is that good a piece of music. I mean, it wouldn't be out of place on, I don't know, in any kind of fantasy film or television show, you know. I mean, there was similarities. I'm sure. I only think with the instruments used, not the tune, to like some of the main themes at the beginning of like the Harry Potter films. You know, just that orchestral sort of music, that kind of structure. Obviously, I weren't expecting it to be a Harry Potter game or anything. I'm just sort of spitballing here while I think back to the beginning of the music. But yeah, any of the programs like fucking Game of Thrones or anything fantasy based, that sort of tune would fit in, because they're quite dark programs, really.
Yeah. And musically, they do tend to all stick to the same sort of like tried and tested sort of structure for each piece. Not always, though. I don't know if you would have thought that about, you know, the two from Heroes 3 and the one from Heroes 4 we've heard already. And I do have some later on. I don't think I'm giving away too many spoilers by saying there is more orchestral to come. Where it doesn't quite follow that sort of structure, but it still works. It's still, as soon as you hear it, you straight away think, yeah, a sort of fantasy setting is absolutely what this music is written for. So, yeah, I certainly go along with what you were saying there. It absolutely fits, you know, the fantasy setting, because the way that it has been composed and put together, it's very much a sort of, if I was to say very much a standard piece, it sounds like I'm sort of saying that there wasn't much thought put behind it. I'm certainly not saying that at all. You cannot level that criticism at Paul Romero. But it doesn't always work out that way. If we haven't heard any like that yet, we certainly will do.
Yeah, no, that was really good. I quite enjoyed that.
With regards to the game itself, I'm assuming you've not played Heroes 6.
Well, I thought I had until you pointed out that I probably haven't.
Well, with Hero 6, it actually got a slight change of title. It became Might and Magic Heroes 6, as opposed to Heroes of Might and Magic 6, you know. Yeah. There were a lot of new features introduced in the 6 that hadn't appeared in any of the previous 5 games. And loads of the Heroes community hated it as a result. Again, we'll come back to that a bit later.
Okay.
I thought it was great. I think Hero 6 is the second best of the entire series. Yeah, I think it's much better than its reputation would have you believe, and that's purely down to the Heroes of Might and Magic community all fucking whinging that it's not Heroes 3. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, we know what game communities are like.
Oh yeah, don't we just?
Righto, you're going to be wanting my number 6 then, aren't you?
Oh, I think that sounds like a fucking good idea.
This one does start quietly, so it might be difficult to hear over this, but I'm pretty sure you know this one. That is about as close as you're going to get to opera from me.
No, never heard of it.
Well, never heard of opera.
Well, I'm vaguely familiar with opera, but yeah, yeah. Believe it or not, I am somewhat familiar with that one. The trouble is, having racked up over 64 weeks of total gameplay in that fucking thing, I've become so desensitized to the music that half the time it's playing and I can't even hear it anymore.
Well, for the benefit of those that don't know, that was from 2014. That was Frameshift Suite, Second Movement Centaurus from Elite Dangerous. And I've heard that so many times while heading towards stations in Super Cruise and flying across the fucking scam planets hundreds of fucking thousands of light seconds away. I really do like that piece of music, and we've said before, if there's one thing they've got right in Elite Dangerous, it's the sound. The audio is fucking superb.
Yeah, I do tend to focus a lot more on the sound effects than the music, but there's no way I could, say that the music isn't up to it. Of course it is. There are some pieces that stand out particularly more so than others. I wouldn't have said that is one that particularly stands out to me, but again, I think it's because I've heard it so many times now that it barely registers when I hear it. It's not a bad piece of music, not in the slightest. I do think that the choral parts to it help it along. If it didn't have those, then it would be quite forgettable. So yeah. They really do help quite a lot there. I would be. Oh, God.
I was going to say, I think the choral parts in that, I think I probably like it because there's like a faint hint of 60s Star Trek to it, without that just in no lyrics, just the I don't know, what do you call them, vocal effects when they're not doing that. I mean, calling it an RRR is not really.
Yeah. We all know the bit you mean, though. I wouldn't be at all surprised if, probably rather subconsciously, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if that did have something to do with why that particular music sounds like that. I mean, bearing in mind it is playing while you are travelling through space at unbelievable sort of like rates of speed, just like the Enterprise in Star Trek. It must have, at least had a slight influence on the composer of that music. I haven't got a clue who it was that wrote it.
No, I haven't either. To be honest, I haven't got the soundtrack. I had to trawl through YouTube and sort of do a bit of a sound rip to get that. But I've bought the game, so it's there. It's just not in. Whereas a lot of games have them as like OGs or waves or whatever, that's not. It's sort of built into ED, so I had to use YouTube.
Yeah, you can get the soundtrack to the game. I've got it purely because I have the lifetime expansion thing. So I've got it for the base game for Horizons and for Odyssey. So yeah.
Yeah, that might prove useful.
Yeah.
Not that we condone such actions.
No, exactly. Yeah. I don't know what you may be suggesting there, but I was just letting you know that I have it.
Oh, excellent. That's really good to know. I'm ever so pleased you do.
Yeah. As far as like actually discussing the game, I mean, if there is anybody watching this fucking video on this fucking channel who is not even vaguely familiar with Elite Dangerous, then it does raise the question, what the fucking hell are you doing here? I mean, that's all I do on this channel now, well, apart from the occasional metal video. So, I think game-wise, Yeah, that one we've covered quite well.
Was you expecting a piece from that to appear?
No, not at all. To be honest, I didn't even consider it. Not because I, well, not entirely because I didn't think it was good enough. To be honest, I wouldn't have put any of it into my 10 anyway. But yeah, I just totally forgot all about including the game that I play on a near constant basis. You know?
Yeah, well, it's easy to let that slip by, isn't it?
Oh yeah, isn't it just?
Yeah, I like it anyway. So obviously, otherwise it wouldn't have been on my list. I went through a lot of the frameshift suites, and they're all pretty good. There is one that sounds a bit like synthwave, but it wasn't very long. And outside of the playing the game, it actually weren't that interesting. It's still a good piece of music, but it works best when you're. I normally get it when I'm just about to start heading down onto a planet, and it really fits that. But playing it as a piece by itself, I thought that one was better anyway. The Centaurus one.
Yep. Well, yeah. So I've become so desensitized to it. You could have chosen any piece, and yeah, I suspect my opinion wouldn't have been any different. You know, it's not that I don't like it. It's just that perhaps a little too exposed to it. You know, is my problem there.
Well, I can only apologise because you're probably going to start noticing it again now.
Yeah, I probably will. Every time it plays, I'm going to be, oh yeah, this is his favourite piece. Guaranteed by the end of the year, you may have changed your mind because I'm never going to shut up about it now, am I?
That's fine.
Okay, well, that brings us on to my number 6, and it's slightly different. We'll say that. Let's hear it.
That was far too subdued and relaxed for the picture that's behind it. That was. I'm having trouble getting my head round after all the music we've played and all the videos we've done. You playing sort of like slow, melancholy, peaceful pieces like that is like, what the fuck is going on here?
And the weird thing is, although all the metal videos would probably give you exactly that sort of impression, I actually listen to far more opera and orchestral music than I do metal. So yeah, it's yeah, it is quite the contrast. And yet the weird thing is, yeah, it's the metal videos that are the contrast to what I listen to more often. So yeah, quite a surprise. Any idea what the game is that is from?
I mean, I'd have a guess at Warriors of Might and Magic, or
I'll give you a clue.
Heroes of Might and Magic. maybe insert number here.
Believe it or not, the words might and magic do not appear in the game title here. This is a totally different game. This one came out in around 2002, maybe 2003. Anyway, that is from Dungeon Siege. Now, I have the title down here as Fortress Cross, but you can actually get the soundtrack to this game, and there is a piece of music in the soundtrack called Fortress Cross, and it sounds nothing like this. But I do remember, because I used to play this game constantly, when you are first approaching Fortress Cross, this is the music that plays in the background, and I absolutely love that start there where you've got that like really big build up with the French horns in particular, and you can just imagine seeing this huge fortress sort of like looming into view as that music is playing there. It fits the moment fucking beautifully.
French horns, you say?
Yes.
Not some cunt with a trumpet.
No, it's not some cunt with a trumpet. No. Fucking hell. Yeah, I may have to remember this for any of my any other orchestral ones there. I'll have to remember. Yeah, right. Okay, cunt with a trumpet, cunt with a recorder, cunt with a flute, maybe. Yeah, right. Fucking hell. I'm talking to a musical philistine here, and I. But with that in mind, anyway, what did you reckon?
Yeah, that was a nice chilled out piece of music. I mean, obviously not playing the game again, it's out of context, but I can see it being a piece that's like taking you from A to B, you know. So you said it's approaching, was it something Croft or something?
Yeah, Fortress Cross, Kroth. And the thing that also helps, again, if you were playing the game where it fits in well, I mean, you're absolutely like, hacking through all of these enemies and just butchering people left, right and centre. As you get towards it, they all just suddenly disappear, and you're making your way through like these sort of valley almost. And then you get the fortress there, and as you first approach it, there's still no one around. So the music does really fit it, and then suddenly, bang! You got 500,000 more people come piling in on top of you. Dungeon Siege is very much a action RPG. It's basically hack everybody that you encounter. There aren't very many sort of friendly NPCs in this one.
Oh, yeah, I've never played it. I mean, the only thing I can think of that comes close to that, where you have loads of people, is Mount and Blade. I think I've got that somewhere and played that.
Yeah, I've got that, but never played it. That's one of many games I've got on my Steam library, which I bought thinking, oh yeah, I definitely want to play that one, and I never did. And I think I bought it about 6 years ago. So I'll tell you one game it is quite similar to is Diablo.
Right.
If you played that, then yeah, this is much along those sort of lines.
Yeah, I've played Diablo 2. I can't remember if I played the first one or not. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So when it came out, graphically it was like fucking next level. You know, no one had seen like graphics as fucking great as this. Because you look at it now and it's like, fuck you what, you know. But I mean, we're talking 2003. You know, I think the state of the art graphics card back then, I think, was a GeForce 2. So. I remember I had a Cairo 2 graphics card when I was running this. That was a great graphics card. I wish the Cairo development had carried on going. I think that could have been something special, but it wasn't to be.
No, I had a Voodoo 3, I think, around about then, possibly.
Yeah, I remember having a Voodoo 3. I'm also the only person I know of who actually had a Voodoo 4. Which was actually nowhere near as bad as people say it was. I thought it was all right. Because I got a GeForce 2 MX and I hated it. Got rid of it. And when I took it back to the shop, I was out in Canada at the time. When I took it back there, I was like, well, what have you got, that I can have instead? And they said, we haven't got very much. So I was like, okay, I'll take the Voodoo 4, give it a try. And I didn't have very high hopes for it. It's fucking great. It was perfectly all right. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll stick with this. I didn't replace it until I got the Hercules 4500, the Cairo 2 base card. So I didn't bother with any Radeons or any GeForce cards, properly for quite a while, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what I had on my Windows XP machine that I bought in 2003. It might have even been an on-board one. I honestly can't remember, because that came from Time Computers or somewhere like that. There was like a deal on. I got it sort of like about 500 quid cheaper than... It was before I started building my own ones, anyway. Yeah, I can't remember what I had on that, but I know my first real graphics card that I remember putting some serious money to at the time would have been my GT 630 that had a whole gigabyte of RAM on it. It was like a gig on a graphics card.
Yeah, fuck it hell. Yeah.
Because before that, I had a GT 9600, and I think that only had like 512 meg on it. So going to a whole gig was like fucking hell.
Yeah, that was when you all had the whole business of people with Windows XP only having the 32-bit version, and they couldn't have like 4 gig of system RAM because the graphics card needed a gig of it. So you had all that fucking palaver going on. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, back in the days of Will It Run Crisis.
Yeah. Fucking hell. I reckon you still probably couldn't put together a computer that could run that at 60 frames a second.
I'll tell you what, I know we're drifting off here, right? That 9600 that I had, it came with, I can't remember what the game was, but it also came with a demo of Crisis, and it could run Crisis for about 10 minutes, and it overheated and the computer reset. So I had to buy an Arctic cooling third-party cooler to put on that card, and it was fine after that. But yeah, well, the stock cooler is not good enough to fucking run the demo they send out of it without overheating. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Not the greatest piece of marketing they've ever done, was it?
No, not really. Oh dear.
Anyway, you're right. We did stray off a bit from that, but that was Dungeon Siege. That was composed by Jeremy Soule, who did the whole of the Dungeon Siege soundtrack. I think he did the music for all 3 Dungeon Siege games. Don't quote me on that. I'm fairly sure he did. The first one was great. Dungeon Siege 2 was all right. I didn't like some of the changes they introduced, though. Dungeon Siege 3 bears absolutely no similarity to the first 2 whatsoever. I can't stand it.
Well, so it is quite like the Diablo series then.
Yeah.
And the Baldur's Gate series. In fact, the 3 seems to be shit on a lot of things, apart from Heroes of Might and Magic.
Yeah, Heroes 3 got away with it. Dragon Age got away with it. The third one was Inquisition. That was fantastic. With Dragon Age, it was the second one that was I wouldn't say he was so much the stinker. It's just it was nowhere near as good as the first or the third one.
No, never played them, mate. I'll have to take your word for that.
Oh, great RPGs. If you do like RPGs, and I know you do, well, I know you like your tabletop RPGs. If you like your computer RPGs, though, then the Dragon Age series and the Neverwinter Nights series, absolutely got to give those two a go.
Noted. The only ones I've really played in recent times has been Baldur's Gate. I think that's about it, really. I mean, Skyrim is, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. It is an RPG, but it's an action RPG rather than a stats-based RPG.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not so struck on the any of the Elder Scrolls games. I played Morrowind. I played what was the fourth one? That's it. Yeah, played that. I played Skyrim. I couldn't get into any of them. So after Skyrim, I tried, didn't like it, and yeah, I've not paid any attention to that series since.
Well,
but if you liked, I was just saying, if you liked Baldur's Gate, then Neverwinter Nights, especially the first one, it'll be right up your street.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got what's the other one that's all wintry? That's
Icewind Dale.
Icewind. I've got a version of Icewind Dale that'll work on modern computers. Now, I was going to say was I was talking about this with my brother-in-law the other day. We was talking about Skyrim, and he likes a lot more modern games than I do. And he was saying, like, the thing with Skyrim and the way because I was saying Elite Dangerous, basically, you don't have skills. You can engineer your ships and your suits and that, but the actual skills are skill you develop yourself. It's you that's doing it. And he was saying, like in Skyrim, you can max out your stats. So you can basically kill a dragon with one punch. And I'm like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, so yeah, that's taking it to ridiculous levels, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, not so keen on that sort of thing. It just makes it fucking laughable, doesn't it?
Yeah. Farcical was what I believe I said.
Yeah, yeah. That's yeah, very accurate way of putting it. Right. Shall we go on to your number 7 then?
Yeah. Now I do believe this one possibly loops twice because it's really short. I can't remember. I think it does though. But yeah. Back to the world of first-person shooters. It weren't that one that looped.
I'm 99% certain that is from the original Half-Life.
You're right. 1998, and that was called Diabolical Adrenaline Guitar.
Okay, I had no idea what the piece was called. I'm fairly sure that plays quite early on in the game, isn't it? After the Resonance Cascade has happened. I think it's while you're making your way out of where out of like the Ground Zero sort of area. I
Yeah,
think that's where it happens.
yeah, I think you're right. It's been a long while since I played it, and for the fact that I didn't get that far into Half-Life, that I've heard it means it's probably very near the beginning. So,
Half-Life was another game that I played a hell of a lot. I've completed it more times than I care to remember. I've also completed the two like add-ons for it. Was it Opposing Force and Blue Shift? Did both of those. Opposing Force wasn't bad. Blue Shift was a bit too short. It wasn't all that great. But yeah, I was a big fan of the Half-Life. I still am a big fan of the Half-Life games. Did you ever play or even buy Black Mesa, like the fairly recent sort of remake of Half-Life? I've got it on Steam. I did actually buy it while it was on sale. Shock horror, I've never even booted it up yet, but I do have it here. Yeah, here we go. I bought it on, I'm sure it says at some point here, it will tell me when I actually bought it. But it's not telling me at all. But anyway, yeah, I bought it, never played it, but it's basically the original Half-Life, but they've really sort of like souped up the visuals. Like you, I'm not really much of a graphics whore. If the graphics work, that's good enough for me. But let's face it, when a game looks good as well as play good, you're not going to complain, And I liked the original Half-Life enough to think, yeah, okay, I'll have that. I think I only got it for like $5, so for that much, yeah.
the thing is, the thing I remember most about the original Half-Life, I think at the time I had a 400 megahertz AMD processor. I had like a 4 meg AGP graphics card, and it run that at 1024, and it looked really fucking good, and it was smooth at the time. It makes you wonder why things run so slow these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the bit where you're going along in sort of like the little train before it all blows up.
At the start, yeah.
Right at the very start. That was like something else. Like, oh right, this is what PC gaming is.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the thing I liked about Half-Life, as opposed to all the other first-person shooters that had got on my nerves, was the first weapon you start with is a crowbar, and you things with it. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, the crowbar became like the Half-Life trademark, didn't it? And of course, it had to make its return when Half-Life 2 came along. Even though a lot of people didn't really like the Zen levels, and I do admit they certainly weren't as good as like the levels while you were still in the Black Mesa complex, but I have nothing like negative to say about Half-Life at all. I think they got it all absolutely fucking nailed on. It was one of the first games that I bought for my PC, and I had 300 megahertz Pentium 2. My graphics card itself didn't have any 3D hardware, but I did have a 3D accelerator. I think it was a Voodoo Rush. It was a huge fucking great thing, and yet it could barely do anything. But it was good enough, for the time. I had no problems running that, and it ran really smoothly. I'm pretty sure I was playing it at 1024. It looked fucking fantastic for the day, and I think if you keep in mind when it was coded in that, I still think it looks fucking good.
Yeah, it does. I mean, what people that are watching this have to remember is I'm a Commodore 64 fanboy, and you think the greatest console ever was the Atari VCS. You know, so
Yeah.
we're not really graphics swords by any stretch.
No, not at all. So, you know, yeah, when something like Half-Life comes along, yeah, of course we're going to say, yes, this is fucking incredible, you know. So, but what made it good though was again the gameplay. You know, it's yes, it's great if you can have a game that looks and sounds great as well as plays great. But as long as the gameplay is there, that's what matters. And that, of course, is what has been forgotten in so many modern games today. It's all about how it looks.
Yeah, how it looks, and I remember my nephew was talking about an add-on they brought out for Grand Theft Auto 4 or 5, and I said, "All right, what's?" And he was trying to explain about it, and he said, "Oh well, apparently the story." And I went, "I don't give a fuck about the story. What's the gameplay about?" And he went, "Oh no one's talking about it." It's like, well, that's the most important part of the game.
Yeah.
You play a game, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that does rather say it all, you know. No one's talking about the gameplay. Well, fucking why not? That is the reason why you buy this thing that is called a game, you know. I mean, fucking hell, do they really need this explaining to them? Yes, they do, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it does sound like it, doesn't it? But yeah, so yeah, that was from the original Half-Life.
Yep, not a bad choice at all. So that brings me on to my number 7. Well, yeah, I don't know if the actual piece of music itself will sound familiar to you, but the style certainly will do. Let's hear it.
I definitely prefer opera when it comes with subtitles, because at the end there it sounded like she was going on about cold tits.
Shockingly, I don't think that was sung in English. So yes, another operatic one. Now, this one is from Heroes of Might and Magic 5. This is another Paul Romero one. That is the theme for the Haven faction. To me, that piece of music is actually telling a story. It would be easier to try and relay it while the thing's playing in the background, but we'll have a go. So you've got the Haven town there, and everyone there is fine. And then you get to the part where you have the timpani and the snare, and to me it's like suddenly all these horsemen are coming in, like raiding the town and basically hacking everybody and all that. And it fades out. You get that quiet part, and then the very solemn single cello. And there's like one survivor, and he's just looking around the place, just seeing like all the dead bodies laying around everywhere. And then it builds up in the crescendo, and he's seen like, you know, there's a sword or something laying on the ground. He picks it up, and you know he's holding up there, vowing that he will get his revenge on those people that raided the town, and that's when the piece ends. I see that image in my head every single time I hear this piece of music.
Well, having never seen that before, but that does sound like standard opera fare, doesn't it? Where, you know, it goes wrong before it gets better.
Well, actually, I think standard opera fare is that it goes wrong straight away and then just gets worse and worse until everyone's dead. That's your usual opera, right there.
Oh, that's why you like it.
But I mean, it's certainly sort of like conjures up images of Brunhilde and that sort of the Wagnerian opera.
Bugs Bunny, you mean?
Not so much Bugs Bunny, on his extremely overweight horse, and Elmer Fudd singing "I have killed the wabbit."
Classic opera. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that's my favourite.
I mean, cartoons like that, I mean, sitting there sort of like, laughing and taking the piss, but actually, cartoons like that really did actually help increase the popularity of opera through things like that. Do you remember there was also one, it was a Tom and Jerry one originally, and then they remade it as a Bugs Bunny one, where Tom is a concert pianist.
Yeah.
And Jerry's living in the piano, and in that one, he's performing Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, which I think is the single greatest piece of music ever written for piano. And because of that cartoon, that piece of music around that time when that cartoon was first released became massive. Everyone was listening to it, because the guy who produced it, Fred Quimby, I think it was, he was born the day that Franz Liszt died, and I don't know why, but he became an enormous Franz Liszt fan, possibly because of the coincidence that he was born the day that the guy died. But he was always determined to try and get Franz Liszt's music into a Tom and Jerry cartoon. And in the end, he gave up just trying to be subtle about it. He's like, right, okay, Tom is now a concert pianist and he's going to perform this piece,
I wouldn't agree with you with that being the greatest piano piece. I think the greatest piano piece was Eric Idle doing the penis song on The Meaning of Life. But, each to their own.
Or what about Eric Morecambe doing a Grieg's piano concerto with old Andrew Preview? I mean, that truly was a masterpiece.
It was a masterpiece, but Eric Idle was in tune. He played the right notes in the right order.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really nice piece. To me, because I don't know the games, it shows how well they've done with the genre. Because again, that could have been dropped straight out of one of the Lord of the Rings films or something. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can't actually remember when the Lord of the Rings films were released. I know it's going to make everyone cringe about the fact that it was well
2002,
over
something like
10
that.
years ago. Yes, I mean, 20 fucking years ago. So I think those films were out, yeah, before this came along. So it's possible that it had a bit of an influence. I don't know for certain, but yeah, I mean, it could well have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no idea who scored those films,
I have no idea either.
but it's not a bad thing. I mean, they had good music, so
Yeah, you know, all of those Lord of the Rings films, I've only ever seen them all once.
I haven't seen them that many times. I've got the extended versions on DVD where you have to change the disc halfway through because of all the commentary and that's on there. I know when lockdown was on, me and the missus decided to watch all of them. So we watched the three Hobbit films, which was a mistake because they're pretty shit.
Yeah, they are
We watched the three Lord of the Rings films. We watched the Ralph Bakshi animated one. We watched the weird Far Out animated ones from the 70s. I think they're Dutch or something. And we even watched the film Tolkien. So I've watched them all within the last couple of years, and the long versions as well. But yeah, they're good for what they are, which is, you know, fantasy popcorn films, really, I suppose.
Yeah. No, of all those ones you mentioned there, I think the one that deserves the most credit is the Ralph Bakshi animated one.
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't get anything like the amount of like credit it deserves. I thought that was fucking fantastic.
So whenever I read Lord of the Rings, even now, I mean, I haven't read it for a few years, but if I was to read Lord of the Rings, my inner brain movie while I'm reading would be the characters from that cartoon. It wouldn't be Elijah Wood and Sean Astin and all that.
No.
Even though they've done a good job in the films,
Hmm.
they're still not my cast for that.
Yeah.
It would always be the cartoon one.
Yeah, when Aragorn speaks, I hear John Hurt's voice. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. When you consider that they were, I know we're totally off topic here, but you know, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I don't.
When you know, they sat down to make this thing, they didn't have anything like the budget that was needed. And yet it didn't stop them. I mean, they were trying to do what must have been surely an impossible task, trying to actually do an animated version of the whole of Lord of the Rings. I mean, okay, they only got up to the Battle of Helm's Deep. The second part never materialised, unfortunately. But I just think what they did, it's staggering. It's been quite a few years since I last saw it, but I've got to see that again sometime soon.
Well, it goes to show how good it was, because when Peter Jackson was making, I particularly remember it in The Two Towers, there was certain shots where Frodo had Sting pointed towards Smeagol, like Gollum, and he matched it shot for shot with the Ralph Bakshi one. You know, there's a few shots he nicked. There's one in particular where Frodo's got the Sting facing towards him, and it is shot for shot the same as the cartoon one. So Peter Jackson done his own work.
Yeah. The director of the films is also, showing some credit towards the animated ones. Then, yeah, it shows they deserve more than they get. Absolutely.
Yeah. Aragorn will always be John Hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We don't need a camp fucking Aragorn that we got with Viggo Mortensen. We want a proper Aragorn from John Hurt.
I didn't think he was that bad. I didn't thought of him as camp.
He fucking was. There were so many parts I was thinking, Jesus Christ, fucking, you don't need to be like this. Yeah, I wasn't too keen on Viggo Mortensen's performance in that.
Well, he was hardly Duncan Norvell. I mean,
Well, no, obviously he wasn't that bad, but I mean, he wasn't like effeminate or anything. But there were just so many parts where when I was watching it, I was like, "Fucking no, this just does not look or sound right,"
No, that was I think that was a sign of the times, weren't it? The new man thing going on.
Yeah,
Does the dishes and Will Hoover sort of stuff.
yeah. Anyway, there you go. So that was our discussion on that piece of music. I mean, once again, Paul Romero did the business. I thought that was fantastic. And the fact they had opera in there as well is another added bonus. I was not expecting another Heroes game to feature operatic singing, but we did get it, and I was certainly happy about that.
Yeah, it worked a lot better in that one for some reason.
So, we go on to your choice number 8.
We do indeed, and this is completely different to anything I've played at all this evening. So, let's give it a whirl. There you go, something a bit lively.
Yeah, that was great. I'll tell you what, I don't recognise it. I have no idea what game it's from, but all the way through that, I kept thinking, This is what it would sound like if someone took a SID chip piece of music and updated it to like for like modern synthesizers or a modern PC. I don't know if it was. The look on your face has me thinking: was this done by somebody who used to do SID music?
Yep.
Yaron Tell?
No. No, it's probably not a name you would have thought of. This is called Title Revisited. It's from Horizon Chase Turbo that come out in 2018, which is a game very much in the it's a Horizon Chase, so it's like Lotus, Turbo, Outrun, them sort of game. And that composer was Barry Leach.
All right, okay. Fucking hell, there's a big difference between that and the 64 stuff.
Well, you know, he's got all the keyboards and guitars he needs there. He hasn't got just 3 voices, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose there is that. I mean, I found his stuff on the 64 quite hit and miss. There was a fair bit of it that I wasn't all that struck on. But when he got it right, he certainly did get it right. You know, he wasn't one of those, he wasn't another fucking, who was that American cunt I can't stand?
Jim Cuomo.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's not one of those. But yeah, this was fucking good. But
yeah, I was on the fence as to whether you'd like that or not. So, well, that worked out all right.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it really sounded right from the get-go that this was... had been recorded by somebody who was familiar with, chiptune music and the SID in particular. So, yeah, well, I mean, let's face it, if a piece of music gets me, thinking of, SID music, it's doing something right in my books,
Yeah. Well, you haven't got to fucking argue that one with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good racing game. I remember getting it on my phone, from the Android Play Store, and it was just like a demo, and you got to just do the first 3 tracks, like the first country. And then when I saw it on Steam, it was less than a tenner, and I thought I've got to have that, and it plays really fucking well, and it's really smooth. It's proper like 60 frames a second, filled in, very smooth, sort of like angulated vector graphics, I suppose. It's got a retro look to it, but it's not retro. It's not like Minecraft blocky, but it's not like that fucking Project Forza or Gran Turismo. These games that go for accuracy. It's just a really good racing game. If you like arcade racers, it's fucking good, and it's like a collection of tracks, and they've been adding things to it. I'm pretty sure there's like an Ayrton Senna update where you can drive around F1 tracks and stuff like that. It's a good game.
What did you say? What did you say it was called?
Horizon Chase Turbo.
Okay, I know I do have a racing game which is a sort of it's not that one. It's sort of like a retro vector graphic style racer. I thought for a minute it might have been that, but no, it's not. I can't remember what that one's called either, but I'm just checking my Steam list and no, I haven't got it. So,
but it sounds like you're talking about Formula Retro Racing, if you're talking about like an F1 type racer.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I've got it up right there. Oh, so you've got that as well. So, yeah, that was the one I was thinking of, but...
Yeah, no, if you like an arcade racer, I don't know what sort of price it goes for now, but I'm pretty sure you can download a demo of it on Steam to see what you think of it. It's worth it. I like it anyway, obviously. Sitting here waxing lyrical about it.
Yeah, I do like my racing games. I haven't bought any for quite a while because the series that I used to really like was the Need for Speed. Yeah. But ever since those cunts moved in opposite me with all their car customizing, or as I call it, turning their cars into cuntmobiles, it's really put me off. And of course, the Need for Speed games nearly always focus on all that fucking bollocks, which I can't stand. I just want a really good, really fast, really smooth racer. So it sounds like it's something I certainly need to take a look at.
Well, yeah, if you like having a nitro button for on the straights and picking up bits and pieces as you drive around, like extra nitro and fuel and that, it's good. It's not. It starts off and you think this is fucking easy. Then you get to the second country in the world tour, and it's like, oh right, okay,
Yeah,
like that, is it?
yeah, I know quite a few games like that. Yeah, lull you into a false sense of security. You think, ah, no problem. Next track comes along, it's like, fucking, this is impossible. Yeah,
Yeah. But you know, there is like minimal sort of like upgrades, I think, for your car. But it is an out and out arcade racer, as far as I'm concerned. It's got a lot in common with Lotus Turbo Esprit Challenge 2, I think.
well, if it's got something in common with that, then yeah, it can't be all bad. I mean, I think the Lotus Turbo Challenge ones on the Amiga, they were the best racing games the Amiga ever got. As far as like in you know, simple, straightforward, just grab the joystick, off you go. I would say that was the best. It's a different type of game to the Formula One Grand Prix on the the Jeff Crammond one.
Yeah.
But certainly, as far as the best actual, just pure out and out racing, yeah, Lotus Turbo Challenge 2. That's the one that did it for me. That was great.
Yeah, well, I would rate Horizon Chase Turbo up there with that.
Well, that's high praise as far as I'm concerned, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, great choice there. So that brings me on to my number 8. I have a feeling this style is going to sound quite familiar to you by now.
Oh, we're back on the Paul Romero, are we?
Yeah, we might be. Let's hear it.
that was quite doomy. I mean, when that started, I thought it was going to end up being a waltz, but it turned into Doom Classical.
Which is not surprising, really, because that is the theme for the Death faction in Heroes of Might and Magic 4. So, yeah, we are back with Paul Romero again. And this one was a little bit of a slow burner because I'd kind of been spoilt with the Heroes 4 soundtrack for a lot of it because I was blown away by the fact that I first heard opera in a video game, and several of the factions had operatic like themes. So when I played as the Death faction and the theme here didn't have any opera, at first I was like, okay, but then I actually gave it a chance. And it's like, fucking, this is fucking great, and for me, this, I think, is the best of all of the faction themes in Heroes 4, despite the fact that it doesn't have any operatic singing in it. It really does suit the... it suits the fact that it is the Death Faction's town's theme really well. The fact that you picked up on that straight away, getting this sort of doomy sort of vibe from it, would certainly back that up.
Yeah, I think that's the best one you've played from that game. I think a lack of opera has made that much better.
It is a shame that Heroes 4 really is not very good at all. The music in it is phenomenal, but development of the game was a bit of a disaster. They tried to change too much too quickly. It also didn't help that 3DO were the developers, and they were really on their last legs. They desperately needed this game to be successful, but at the same time, they desperately needed it out on the shelves and selling so they could get some money in. And towards the end, they only had 3 people actually working on the game.
Bloody hell.
It got released unfinished, which is never a good sign.
Well, that's like every game today, isn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, yeah, it's commonplace now. But when this came out in, I think it was 2003. That wasn't, that didn't happen so much then. It got released. There was no multiplayer, even though the option was there in the main menu. When you clicked on it, it just said, this feature is coming soon. It did get 2 expansions, though. Neither of them really helped. Trying to change so many aspects of the game, if they'd been a bit more gradual about it, it may have worked out. But yeah, the way they just threw them all into Heroes 4, it was trying to do too much, and it wasn't a success. It's very much a game that I've still got it. I've got all of them, and I still have it installed. But basically, I listen to the music, and that's it. I don't play Heroes 4 at all. Of all the Heroes games, I do think Heroes 5 is the best one. Can't really put my finger on why. You look at Heroes 5, visually it does look very dated. I find the visuals look really similar to like World of Warcraft, which, I'd rather not have things reminding me that World of Warcraft exists, but there you go. Heroes 5, they got everything, everything pretty much nailed on. Visually, it's good enough. 6 and 7 both look a lot better, but it's good enough. Got great music, as Heroes games always do. The gameplay has been tweaked, but not too much. The difficulty level is extremely challenging, but it's not ridiculously hard, which again Heroes 4 had a problem with. So Yeah, Heroes 5 was where they really found the sweet spot, got it right. Heroes 4, they got the music right, and pretty much nothing else.
Yeah, well, like you said earlier, neither of us are strangers to loading games for the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Just have a look in the game directory and see if there's a load of waves or OGs in there. You won't even have to load it.
Actually, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I still got it installed, because yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's all just MP3 files in the music folder. So I'll just keep that there.
Yeah. See, I'd be inclined to copy them elsewhere and uninstall the game.
And then uninstall it, yeah.
Yeah, mind you, I suppose if it's a 2003 game, it's going to be megabytes rather than gigabytes in size.
It's a small installation. It's not really taking up much room. So yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, no, that was a good piece. It did, like I say, evoke a bit of doom about it. But I honestly thought it was going to turn into a waltz at the start, just the way it started.
Well, I mean, it is that 3/4 timer at the start there. So, in a way, you could say yes. At the start, it was a waltz, but yeah, it didn't stick with it. So.
No, it was like a waltz off of a cliff.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yes, the waltz of death, and yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I suppose that.
Are we? Yes, we are on to your number 9, your penultimate choice.
Penultimate choice, and considering how much I said I went off of them, it's quite strange that I should have a first-person shooter again. But a first-person shooter from 2018. So see what you think of this music. jolly nice of them to put MP3 files in a in a modern game. I'll have one of them. Thank you for the video.
Yeah, I had no idea that it would have been done that way. Yeah, 20 years ago perhaps, but certainly not in a modern game. I've got no idea what that's from. I've never heard it before, but what a mixture. I mean, that drum sound, that came straight from a metal album. It really did sound like metal, sort of like, not the actual drumming itself, but the sound to it, yeah. And like I'd say sub-melody rather than the bass line, that was sounding great. And then you had that weird sort of like beep, bloody, main melody. I was like, where'd the fuck that come from? It kind of spoilt it a bit for me. Up until that point, I thought this was sounding really good, and that sort of like lowered it a little bit. It was never shit or anything like that. It wasn't bad, but bits of it I liked more than others.
Well, I quite like the bit where the chip tune kicks in. Well, that is called Jerry and Luke's Final Theme, and that is from the 2018 game Project Warlock that I bought a few weeks ago in a Steam sale. It was a couple of quid, and it's basically a modern first-person shooter, but it's made to look like an old thing, like Doom or Quake or one of the really old games. And it's pretty good. So much so that it's even got a section in the video options for Commodore 64, Spectrum, and Amstrad if you really want to change the colours and the blocky level and that. It's it's good. It really runs nice and smooth, but it's got the old style sort of like blocky first-person shooter graphics, and it plays like an old one as well. And if you remember what I said earlier on, that's when I really like first-person shooters. I haven't bought the second one yet. It's on sale, but it's not quite cheap enough because they did a follow-up. But yeah, I think it's a fucking great game, and seeing as it only cost me about £2.50, it's worth every penny.
So I can remember a few years ago, we're probably talking about 10 or so years ago, when making games, especially indie developers, designing games and making them look like they were like retro was like the in thing. I was never keen on it because to me, and I saw plenty of games that backed up this opinion, it was just them being lazy rather than try and actually put some decent graphics in there. They just thought, I will just put, really basic fucking matchstick men, blocky old shit, and we'll just say, oh yeah, it's because it's retro. And so, yeah, I didn't like it there. Now, with that one, I was thinking that while you were describing it, until you got to the point where you were saying that there were options to make it look like a Spectrum, a 64 or an Amstrad and that. And that was when it told me, oh, okay, so not only have these lot tried to make it look retro, but they have actually put some effort behind it. Prior to when you said that, I was thinking, oh, no, not another one of these. So that did earn it a lot of plus points there.
Yeah, I mean, I the first time I bought it on Steam on my phone. I was at work when I saw it was on sale, and I got home and I downloaded it. And of course, I've got a fucking great telly downstairs and a surround system, and I had it on quite loud. And all of a sudden, that kicked into my front room. I was like, "All right, yeah." And I think we'd already discussed this this video, and I thought I'm going to give that another couple of more listens, but I think that might go into the PC music video because instantly I thought, yeah, I fucking like this.
Yeah,
and that still holds true.
Yeah, say, okay, bits of it I weren't so keen on, but at no point did I think this was shit. When it was like starting up now, I was thinking, yeah, this is fucking good. So I just wish they'd chosen something a little less basic than the old, beeps and plops and whatever, but other than that, it was fine. That was, it was good.
Yeah, it's certainly a mixture, like you said.
Yeah. So that that very sort of metal sounding drum sound really did throw me. So I was thinking, oh, okay, is this another one of these sort of like somewhat metal sounding songs? No, no, it weren't.
Well, it does in bits. You might rethink that when you're editing it, because there are some heavy guitar bits in that as well that might not have come across so well.
Very possible. Let's say it's certainly one that I would want to hear again. So yeah, when I'm editing this, I'll probably bug it in the comments like I did about Rush in a certain other video. So yeah, while I'm editing it, I'll certainly give it another listen, and we'll see how it does.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad for a new one. I mean, the last two games I've got on there have both been 2018. So, yeah, like I said, there's been a bit of a span on my... Because that's the newest, and the earliest game was 93. So my music tonight has spanned between 93 and 2018.
Yeah, it's certainly a much wider span than mine is. Yeah, mine is from like quite a narrow band, really, but... I mean, in a way, I kind of suffer from the same thing you do. I don't buy PC games anymore, you know. The last game I actually bought myself new was something on Steam, but I mean, I bought that. Could be getting on for a year ago, and I probably haven't played it, you know. So, yeah, I just don't do PC games all that much. So my choices are all from like that era where I was playing a hell of a lot of PC games, and yeah, it does rather show, you know.
Yeah, I mean, games. I mean, I've got a few codes that Del Boy gave me, but most of the stuff I've bought in the last few years, and if you consider I've spent 18 months being paid by the government to sit at home, what have I bought in the last few years? I bought Streets of Rage 4, the Turtles game, a game called Undetected, which is an homage to Metal Gear Solid, and I bought Project Warlock, which is an homage to first-person shooters of the 90s. So you think about it, all of those games are riffs on old games. You know, the Streets of Rage 4 and the Turtles are scrolling beat-em-ups that play like scrolling beat-em-ups of the 90s. So it's, you know, I've not really bought anything that's new. No, the only other thing I think I've bought is Odyssey. That's the only thing I've bought that's actually new. And even that,
I was just going to say, even that's an add-on to a game that came out 8 years ago. So you know, fucking hell.
Yeah, fuck your ideas up, game makers. Make something fucking interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath waiting for that one, right?
No, I'm not going to. I've got other things to do.
Yeah. Right. So that brings me on to my number 9. You know what? I have a funny feeling you may know what to expect here.
Well, you said that before, and it was something completely different. But I've got a feeling that this list is possibly sponsored by Paul Romero.
Yeah, okay. With that in mind, let's hear it.
I haven't got a fucking clue what that was, but that sounded like some proper dark synth wave industrial, like the love child of Gary Newman and the Prodigy or something. That's fucking great.
That came from Portal 2. The actual title is called You Will Be Perfect. It was written by Mike Moraski. That music plays over the sort of like intro sequence to the multiplayer part of the game. So if you hadn't done any any of the actual multiplayer side of it, when you start it up the first time, you get this video playing, and that's playing over the background of it. But yeah, I think Portal 2 was fucking fantastic. It took a completely different spin on first-person shooters, and it worked. The weird thing is, I wasn't all that struck on the original Portal, which came out actually in the orange box I mentioned earlier, as well as buying Half-Life 2 Episode 1. You also got Portal as well. It was okay, but I found it quite limiting. Portal 2 expanded on it massively, and yeah, it really did benefit from it. I thought that was a great FPS game.
Well, the chances are I probably have heard that before then, because both my kids were playing Portal back in when they were quite a bit younger. I mean, when did Portal 2 come out?
Oh, Christ. I can't remember exactly when. I know it's recently been re-released, hasn't it? The VR version of it.
All right.
But it's got to be 10 years, isn't it? I think, since Portal 2 came out. It's got to be something like that. I think, yeah, 2012, 2011, somewhere around that sort of time.
Yeah, so that would have made my kids a teenager and almost a teenager, so that would have been about right. Yeah, because I know they had Portal and Portal 2. But yeah, they were great games, so much so that there's a version of Portal for the Commodore 64.
Oh, is there?
It's not 3D.
That bit doesn't surprise me. But I didn't even know there was a 64 version of it. That might be worth checking out.
Yeah, it's very different to Portal, because obviously the machine's limitations. But yeah, it's still a good take on it.
Yeah,
I think I've got it knocking about somewhere. I'm sure I can show it to you later.
Okay, yeah, that sounds all right. But yeah, I think that music really does suit that game well. It's very hit and miss, the Portal 2 soundtrack. Some of it is fucking fantastic, not least that one we just heard. Other bits are just like, you know, what is this here? You know, it's a bit of a mess. But when it gets it right, yeah, it really does get it right. I think that piece of music there is just fucking superb. Originally, I was going to have all 10 pieces all be like orchestral or operatic, but I couldn't not include this. And because I was then putting this in, I thought, right, in that case, I'll also put in the Half-Life 2 one that I had earlier as well. So it broke it up a bit, if nothing else.
Yeah. I thank you for that. Yeah, no, that is a great. I quite like synthwave music when it's done well, and that was like industrial dark synthwave. It was the art the pigeonhole that, but that was really fucking good. And I like the sort of stop start bit where it kind of sounded like it was going off frequency and then it kicked back in again. I thought that was good.
Yeah, what really makes it for me is the drum sound to it, and I think that's what adds the sort of like dark sort of like sound to it. So what's that very sort of like, you know, dirty, almost distorted sound on the snare drum in particular. I think that works fucking so good.
Yeah, it was really good. Well, I might have to get myself Portal 2 now just to listen to the music.
Yeah.
Mind you saying that, I've got it here now, so...
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got the music. So, mind you, the game itself is also fantastic. If you've not given Portal 2 a try yourself, which I'm sure you must have done at some point, but it's always worth going back to. Yeah, it's always a great one.
It is, but it'll cut into my Fargoid hunting time, so...
Oh, well, can't have that, can we?
No, time is of the essence on there, isn't it?
Yeah, fucking yeah, is it? Jesus Christ. Yes. Anyway, time for the big one then. I don't know about you, but although mine are not particularly in any order, I've saved what I consider to be the best till last.
Yeah. I suppose I've done the same sort of thing. It's the one I wanted to play last anyway. For reasons I will talk about when I've played it.
Okay, well, with that in mind then, here we go with your choice number 10.
There you go. That's my number 10.
Well, I've got no idea what that was. Never heard it before.
I'm standing here waiting for you to say me you thought it was shit or not.
Okay, well, I can go through, what I thought of it. When it started, I felt certain I'd heard it before, and I was absolutely convinced it was something from Half-Life again. Then the main melody kicked in, and it was like, okay, so obviously it's not what I'm thinking. It really did sound like a sort of theme tune to an 80s science fiction program or something, or maybe even a 90s one. It had that very sort of like, sort of like television theme sort of sound to it. Not necessarily a bad thing. I thought it was okay. It didn't really do anything to sort of really leap out at me. But at the same time, it never did anything that made me think, oh, this is fucking shit, you know. and I did spend quite a while trying to figure out, okay, what sort of game is this from? I was thinking like Deus Ex. No, I don't know if it's that. And then I then saw Metal Gear Solid, but I don't know if that ever came out on PC, so I dismissed that. But yeah, I mean, it was all right. It wasn't fucking shite, that's for sure.
Well, the game come from the mind of Hideo Kojima. The music was scored by Harry Gregson Williams. It came out on the PlayStation in 1996, and on the PC, Metal Gear Solid arrived in 1998, and I own the original of it.
Oh, okay, so it did come out on PC. I didn't realise that there had been a PC release.
Yeah, that was Metal Gear Solid main theme. Now, that game is, I consider it to be one of the greatest games of all time, because it was the first kind of movie game where you're like playing a film that I'd ever played. I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is better, but only the first two come out on PC so far. And if I would have chosen Metal Gear Solid 3, the actual there's a tune called Snake Eater that sounds just like a Bond theme. It's absolutely fucking brilliant. But I couldn't have that, so I went with the first Metal Gear Solid. And this is the reason this game is the reason why I like doing the sniper sneaky missions in Elite Dangerous, and we do that. That's why. It's also probably why, apart from the occasional fuck up that we all have, I have never really seriously fucked up doing that, because sneaking about in games shooting people, that's my bag, man. Because of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. It's interesting you're saying that you think it's like the best game of its particular ilk, and also the first. And I do think the two are intertwined, because I can think of several instances where that absolutely applies to me as well. My favourite first-person shooter game is Unreal, which was also my first one. My favourite RTS game is Dungeon Keeper, which was also the first one I had, and so on. There's always something about that when you get the first of like a particular, probably a new game genre that you've never played before. The first one that really grabs you is always going to be the best one. Because let's face it, that's the one that gets you not only interested in the game itself that you're playing, but it's the one that gets you interested into that entire genre, and it's the one that all other games of that type are all going to be judged on. Are they as good as the first one? And a lot of the time, they never are. They can still be good, but they're just not as good as the first.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing is with the first one, it was set in sort of like the near now, and it was pretty sci-fi based, with genome soldiers and soliton radar on your screen, so you could see where they were looking. And then number two was a bit of a letdown, because your character you play in the first one, Solid Snake, you start off with him, and then you swap to this fucking whiny character, and the story is like fucking Jack and Rose from Titanic. The characters are called Jack and Rose. So then when they built the third one out, it was set in the 60s, so the technology wasn't there. You didn't have the radar anymore. You had to rely more on your wits and what you could hear. And for a PlayStation 2 game, it was graphically, it was pretty fucking good. So my favourite of the series is actually Metal Gear Solid 3, because that one you really had to be good at what you was doing. You didn't have like the radar as a backup. But yeah, I'd never played a game which was a playable movie, and the thing I liked about it, in most PlayStation games, and PC games at the time, you'd have the game graphics, and then you'd get a cutscene, and it'd be like this fully rendered full motion video that looked like something from Pixar. Whereas Metal Gear Solid, the cutscenes used the game engine, so there was no. Even though you couldn't control anything, there were bits where you could look around while it was going on, but for the most part, you couldn't do anything. But it wasn't as jarring, because the graphics didn't change. It was like the camera angle changed, but the characters that were talking looked exactly like the characters that you were just playing or you were fighting against. and I think that's what really done it for me, because I'm not a fan of the movie game genre in particular. I think they've overdone it now. In games, you spend more time watching than you do playing. But
Yeah.
because that one was the first one, it was something new. I didn't mind then, and I didn't mind with that game series, because Hideo Kojima is a fucking genius when it comes to writing stories. I mean, I'd imagine for you the story's probably a little bit convoluted in anime, because I know you're not a fan of that sort of thing. And Hideo Kojima is Japanese, but
Yeah. Kind of got that hint, yeah.
But yeah, it's. I think the Metal Gear Solid series up to number 4 is a great series, and then the guy that done the voice of Solid Snake, David Hayter, he found out on Twitter that for number 5 they'd cast Kiefer Sutherland, so they didn't bother fucking telling him. And I was like, no, I don't want nothing to do with it anymore, and I refused to buy it. And apparently it's fucking shit and base building, and you have to be online, and people can nick your stuff, and I'm not interested in that.
You basically said every feature that I hate in modern gaming there. So yeah. I mean the whole sort of like the movie based games and interactive movies and all that. It's never been a genre that's really sort of like grabbed me. I guess the only ones that I played that were considered under that, or considered part of that genre, you're going back to the days of the Amiga, Defender of the Crown and that sort of thing. And they were fine at the time, but once you played them a few times, I found they started to get a bit tedious, and in the end I just thought, no, I'm not interested. So whenever a game comes along and I hear the words like, interactive movie or stuff like that, I just straight away, it's like, no, it turns me right off it.
Yeah, I suppose with this one, because it's so cleverly made, and this counts for all of the 4 that I like, there's more to it than just a movie game. I mean, like in the 3rd one, there's these little little frog toys all around. And if you shoot all of them, it unlocks something else the next time you play through. Like this, the first one, I think if you go through without being detected at all, you get like a fucking predator suit where you're practically invisible the next time you play it. There's something one way of completing it where you get a James Bond tuxedo. There's another one where you get a headband that gives you unlimited ammo. And there's loads and loads of hidden little things within the game that, until you know they're there, a lot of it you only find out from reading magazines or a mate tells you or something like that. There's loads of hidden stuff in there. And the cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid aren't that long. They're like a few lines of dialogue to get the story going and giving you an idea of what to do next. And then the base is pretty much open world as to where you go. And the soundtracks to them are fucking brilliant. I mean, I could have chosen any number of tracks for that. I've got all 4 soundtracks on I've got them as MP3s. And they're like complete soundtracks. You've got, like you were saying, like you've got them for different towns and villages and factions, where you've got like you've got it for different parts of the base, and you've got the Intruder 1, Intruder 2, Intruder 3, different music that plays when you're discovered, depending on who discovers you and where. So yeah, I think they're very clever games. They're games you've got to persevere. You're not just going to sit down and do it on your first go. You're going to fuck up a lot, but it does teach you how to play stealth games, and that's why I like the Elite Dangerous we do when we do that sort of thing.
Yeah, we don't have too many problems doing that because we both know what we're doing.
Yeah, we don't fucking fire missiles from above, do we, Jim?
So, I mean, it's a fine choice. I mean, yeah, I'm not a fan of the games. The music I thought was good without being fantastic, but yeah, there was nothing there that I thought was utter shite, So, yeah, not bad.
Well, the reason I put it where I put it as my last one is I'm a huge fan of the game and I really do like the music. I mean, Harry Gregson Williams, I think he directs films, he's scored films, so he's a seasoned composer. And as far as I know, he's done all four of the games that I like anyway. So that's no small feat. You're looking at an hour of music for each one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's why I was saying right at the start there. I think that composers who get overlooked because they compose music for games, it's an utterly moronic way of thinking. There is plenty of great music in games. I mean, we've done more than enough videos to illustrate that.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's using the game therefore means, oh no, it's not important, don't matter, it's no good. Oh, fuck off. I hate that attitude.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, game music is still music. It's still got to be composed. And all right, you might be programming it rather than playing it, but it still has to have that composition. And like you said in a video that will probably come out before this one,
Yeah.
it's you need to know how to compose music, otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a load of sounds.
Yeah, exactly. You can have all the instruments, all the fucking programming and coding tools in the world, but if you haven't got that ability to write music, it's all for shit.
Yeah.
So we go on then to my number 10. I don't think it's going to come as a big surprise to you as to who this is or what game series it is from, but I do genuinely think this is the best piece of music to appear in a PC game. So let's hear it. There we go. That ending always leaves like the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. I just think that is fucking glorious.
Ah, beautiful piece. I mean, we had the cunt on his recorder at the beginning again, but
well, that was from Might and Magic Heroes 7. Yeah, that was Paul Romero and Rob King together, I think, who did that one. The piece of music is called Hope for Green Falls, and it's the theme for the Haven faction.
it did sound a bit foresty, I must admit. It was a beautiful piece of music all the way through. I've got to give you that. Regardless of my piss takes about recorders, I'm full aware it's not a recorder.
Now, Might and Magic Hero 7 was a bit of an infamous game. I don't think it is the best of the Hero series, but there is something about it that makes me think it's one of the greatest games ever released, because it basically showed the Heroes of Might and Magic community what a bunch of cunts they really are. You've heard me complain countless times about the Elite Dangerous community. I think the Elite Dangerous community is fucking awful. But by a distance, the worst community is the Heroes of Might and Magic one. And I've mentioned it a few times already here. Every time a new Heroes of Might and Magic game came along, they all hated it. And they hated it because it wasn't Heroes of Might and Magic 3. So, okay, 4 was not very good, so it deserved everything it got. But 5 and 6, they took like the basic premise of 3, but added quite a few new features each time. And each time they did it, the Heroes community just constantly fucking moaned about it. And their basic reasoning for it on every single occasion was, well, it's not in Heroes 3. So the developers for Heroes 7, I can't remember who they were, but they were a Russian lot. And they were pretty smart about this. They engaged with the Heroes community right from the get-go. Everything that they did and everything that they put into it, they would ask the Heroes community, right, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to do this or this? They chose. Okay, right, now we're going to do, right, next part. Do you want this, this, this or this? And they would choose. And of course, every single time there was an option, the community would go with the option that was either the same as in Heroes 3 or as close to the same as they possibly could, without exception. So this carried on, and then, they were like, okay, right, the game's finished, and it was all set to be released. And then the reviews came along. And quite understandably, the reviews were quite lukewarm, because they were saying, well, it's rather a conservative effort, there's nothing new here. Whatever we see in this game, we've all seen, umpteen times before, and it looked quite dated as a result. But the community also said the same thing. They were like, well, this is a bit boring. It's the same thing that, all the other games have been, And of course, the developers just turned around and said to him, like, fuck you lot. We've written the game that you directed us to do. So if you don't like it, it's your fucking fault, not ours. And I love them for that. The sales weren't great. It did get an expansion. There was supposed to be a second, but the second one got cancelled because the sales just weren't too good. But it is entirely the fault of the Might and Magic, the Heroes community. They got the game that they dictated, and then they didn't like it. And I think that had something to do with why 7 was the last of the Heroes games. I mean, that came out in it was either 2014 or 15. And there hasn't been another one since. No developer wants to go near it. because they've seen what the community is like. They don't want to get involved. There's no guarantee that the sales will be particularly great, say, because the sales for 7 weren't all that. So I doubt very much there will ever be another Heroes of Might and Magic game, which is a shame. I love the series. I do like Hero 7. I love the music in Hero 7. I think, not just that one piece. I think that one is the single best in any game. But the entire soundtrack, I think, is Paul Romero's, Rob King's masterpiece. So there's a lot there that I like about it, and yet I can't play the game anymore. Because I was playing it a hell of a lot in 2015. And in 2015, of course, my mum was in the next room just over there. And of course, she was really ill because she had cancer. And now whenever I start up the game, it's just like staring me in the face, a reminder that my mum should be in just the next room over there. So I've tried playing it a couple of times and I just instantly start thinking about that. So yeah, I can't play it anymore. But that's the only reason why I don't. I do still think the game is good, and it's one of the reasons why I wish they would bring out an 8th one, even though I know they never will. So if I play Heroes now, I usually play like 5 or 6.
Well, that's a fairly good reason not to play it anymore. Well, yeah, that's a great stitch up. I mean, it's like with the Elite Dangerous. I'm with you. I'm sure we've spoken about this before. I wish they'd put the Panther Clipper in and make it the biggest pile of shit ever. Within the constraints of what it would be, because of the amount of whining about it that goes on. Yeah. And you know as well as I do, something that big and that bulky is going to have fuck all movement. It's going to be an absolute pig. Yeah. And they should do it just to people. You wanted it. You've got it. That's to the specs. That's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think in the case of that, I know we're going off topic here, but let's face it, we've done it with pretty much every piece here. So, but with the Panther Clipper, I just think that I just can't be asked to deal with all the ball ache that it's going to be, because they will put it in, and like you say, they'll put it in with the specifications that it should have. It's going to be a slow, barely manoeuvrable pig. And then all these people who have been whining for years about putting it in are then going to be endlessly whining about the fact that, it's no good. And I just think they said, fuck it. We can't be asked to deal with any of that shit. The game has enough of its problems without these people constantly whining about something that, just because it's not what they want it to be, And as much as I'd like to see the Clipper in the game, I don't think it will happen for that reason.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. But yeah, that's a fucking great stitch up on that community. That's what you wanted. That's what you've got.
Yeah,
I did too one.
Exactly. And as far as I can tell, the Heroes community went very quiet about it. So it must have dawned on them that yes, it is entirely their fault, because they all voted on what they wanted, and they always went for the Heroes 3 option. They got the game that they dictated, and it was like, there's nothing new here. Fucking hell.
Yeah. You don't always get what you want, even though you think you want it. But yeah, going back to that tune, that was an astonishingly beautiful piece of music. I'll give you that, because I don't know why you think I don't like classical music. I'm not over keen on opera, but that done like that, I do like where they're using the voice as an instrument. And I haven't got to try and work out some fucking Latin. I think that's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know you said in the other video, you're the only one that likes classical music, but I've got my fair share of classical.
Yeah, I think where I got that from was I think there was one video we did, and I was talking about like listening to a symphony or something, and I think you said something along the lines of, "Oh no, I couldn't listen to like symphonies; they drag on." Which, to be fair, some of them do. And I think it was from that I somehow interpreted it as, oh, I don't like orchestral music, which is quite a leap of logic, but I think that's where I got that from. I know you're not big on opera, that is for sure, but somehow I lumped the two together,
Yeah, no, I mean, stuff by fucking James Horner, John Williams. There's some great pieces of movie music that I like, and obviously the stuff that the 8-Bit Symphony have done, I've been quite sort of involved with that. So I do like it, but yeah, I'm not a great fan of opera. But when they do music like that and they use specifically a female voice that's more RRR in than singing words that I can discern and using it as an instrument, I think it's great. I love the song "The Great Gig in the Sky" by Pink Floyd. I know it's not opera, but it's a female voice, but being used as an instrument. There's no words there. So with opera, because it is hard sometimes if you don't listen to it to discern the words that they're saying, even whether it be in Latin, Italian, German, Austrian, or whatever. If you can't discern the words, it becomes an instrument. We've said this before with black metal and stuff like that. I like the sound of it. I just can't be doing the male voice opera stuff. That just doesn't work for me. I find it a little bit cringy. I don't know why. It's just the way I am, I suppose.
I mean, I'm actually much the same as you there. I mean, the vast majority of operas are not performed in English, and the worst thing they could ever do, and unfortunately they've done it on far too many occasions, is translate an opera from its native language into English. That never works. So, of course, I can't understand it. So, like you, I'm treating the operatic voice as another instrument. I mean, with the majority of operas that I listen to, or if I'm watching, like, the DVDs or Blu-rays of them, I know the stories anyway. So, it doesn't matter to me that I can't understand the singing. I treat it as another instrument. Just as by the by, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure she's singing in Greek here. There are lyrics to that piece that we played anyway, but yeah, I'm fairly sure it's Greek she's singing.
All right, okay. Well, I can only take your word for that.
Yeah. It's something that I just happen to know. It doesn't really make much difference as to whether you like the music or not, because I can't speak a fucking word of Greek if my life depended on me. Maybe I should ask Konstantinos if he could translate it or something. But was I about to interrupt something there? Or?
No, I was just laughing at what you said.
That is our 10 PC gaming music choices. I think I can safely say this is going to be a one-off. I can't imagine us doing another series of these. Certainly for me, anyway, there isn't enough variety, and there isn't enough really great standout pieces of music from PC games for me to be able to do too many lists of 10. So I don't know. Do you see this being a series, or are you okay with this just being a one-off?
I'm okay with it being a one-off. I mean, looking at my list here, if we was to do another one of these, there's a fair chance that 50 or 60% of this, so 5 or 6 songs, would be other tunes from games I've already talked about.
Yeah, and bearing in mind what my list was like here, I had 2 pieces from Heroes 3, 2 from Heroes 4, it would just be that again. So I am pretty sure this is going to be a one-off thing. So, you know, if you're going to comment saying, let's have more of these, yeah, don't. This is it, you know.
No, I mean, if I'd have known beforehand, over the top of that Eddie backdrop there, which is to my right, but in front of everyone else, it would have had sponsored by Paul Romero, had I have known.
Yeah, I am a bit of a fan, in case you hadn't noticed.
Nothing wrong with that, mate. I mean, he's a fucking great composer. I've never heard of him before today, and I'm colour me impressed. I'm not about to start probably listening to his stuff, but I certainly wouldn't turn it off or say any of it's shit. He's a really good composer, and he does deserve more recognition, like you said.
Yeah. Also a really great concert pianist as well. He has got a YouTube channel. He performs a lot of his music that he wrote for the Hero series, but yeah, he does also do performances with the great composers. He did also I can't remember exactly when it was, but a few years ago I was uploading some of the music from Hero 7, and he actually left a comment on one of my videos there. So, yeah, I was well chuffed about
that. How many boxes of tissue did you get for it?
Yes, moving swiftly on. So my intention, I'll put it like this, yeah, my intention is to get this video uploaded and, you know, out there before Christmas. Whether or not that will actually happen is anyone's guess, but that's the plan.
You haven't stated which Christmas, so you've covered yourself there.
Oh, there you go, yeah. So, yeah, I'm all right there. And obviously, this is not the end of the music video. It's just because the PC gaming music thing is going to be only going to be a one-off. We will be going back to the metal ones. I mean, there is no way the metal ones are going to be ending anytime soon. At least the next couple of music videos on this channel will be metal related. Because, well, I think we've both got a couple of lists drawn up ready for like the next video or two or three. So yeah, we will certainly be back with another metal video pretty soon. Like to get one more metal vid done and uploaded before the end of the year. God, that's, yeah, with my track record, that's very optimistic, I think.
That is very optimistic, because the end of the year's in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, the last week of the year, I'm gonna be home alone for 6 or 7 days. I'm not sure how long, so I will have time to do it. It's whether you can get it uploaded within 3 or 4 days. That'll be
Yeah, well, we'll come back to that one anyway. But that shall do then. That is, yeah, you've heard 20 great pieces of music from PC games. I'm sure that you agree with absolutely none of our choices, but
we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. You know, as we've said on all of these, you know, these are our lists, and yeah, we compose the list for ourselves, and you know, bollocks to what anybody else thinks. But you know, I can't believe this is going to fall barely short of me asking people to comment. But yeah, if there's any that you think are worthy of addition that did not appear in our list, yeah, let us know. We might even read them.
Yeah. Don't you have to say like, subscribe, and ring that
Oh,
bell?
yeah. Yeah. How could I forget that, eh? So there we go. That's us done. It's yeah, very much time to say go away.